But hidden in plain sight is a 2004 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, that could be worth over $1 million. Yes, a single penny, sitting quietly in someone's pocket, drawer, or old jar of coins, with the potential to make someone unimaginably rich. The story of this penny begins in 2004, a year when millions of Lincoln cents were struck at the Denver and Philadelphia mints. Most circulated coins were ordinary, going unnoticed in the river of pocket change. But some, due to a rare error in the minting process, emerged as treasures beyond imagination. A tiny slip, almost invisible to the naked eye, transformed a humble 1-cent coin into a $1 million collectible. Collectors who have discovered this coin describe a mix of disbelief and awe. Imagine holding something worth $1 million between your fingers, and knowing that it started its life as nothing more than a piece of copper. That thrill, that edge of your seat excitement, is the heart of coin collecting, where history, rarity, and luck collide. The exact nature of the 2004 no-mint mark penny's value comes from its error type. These pennies often feature doubled dies, misplaced dates, or subtle variations that the human eye can barely detect. The difference between an ordinary penny and a life-changing treasure can be a tiny line, a faint shadow, or a slightly misaligned letter. And yet, that small imperfection is what makes collectors pay incredible sums at auctions.to spot this penny. Look closely at the front, the obverse, where Abraham Lincoln's profile resides. On genuine high-value examples, you might notice double details in the lettering of Liberty, or in the date itself, faint, almost ghostly, but unmistakable under magnification. On the reverse, check the wheat stalks for inconsistencies in spacing or depth. Every tiny anomaly is a potential clue that you are holding a coin worth millions. What makes this coin so mysterious is how quietly it appeared. Unlike historic pennies from the 1940s or 1950s, which have been studied for decades, the 2004 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is modern, yet elusive. It was minted in a digital era, yet errors slipped through the automated processes, giving birth to a rare modern treasure. Imagine how many people have spent the last 20 years passing this coin through their hands, unaware of the fortune it might represent. Collectors and experts recommend careful examination. Use a magnifying glass, or even better, a jeweler's loupe. Look for subtle doubling in the date or faint lines around Lincoln's profile. Compare it to standard pennies from 2004. The differences are minor, almost imperceptible, yet they determine whether the coin is ordinary or potentially worth millions. The emotional weight of discovering such a coin is indescribable. It's more than just money. It's the thrill of uncovering history, the connection to a moment in time, and the realization that something seemingly insignificant can hold unimaginable value. Many collectors describe that moment as life-changing, almost surreal, when they realize what they have in their hands. Imagine the suspense of going through a jar of pennies, sorting casually, and suddenly seeing that telltale anomaly. Your heart races, your mind reels, and you can hardly believe what you are holding. That's the magic of rare coins, ordinary objects that carry extraordinary stories. But finding this coin isn't just luck. Knowledge is your secret weapon. Understanding where to look, what to look for, and knowing the history behind the penny are what separate ordinary collectors from those who uncover true treasures. Every subtle detail matters, from the spacing of letters to the tiniest doubling on the date. With patience, focus, and a keen eye, even a modern penny can hold secrets worth $1 million. The 2004 no-mint mark Lincoln penny reminds us that fortune can be hiding anywhere. A coin in a drawer, a jar of change, or a forgotten pocket can become a life-altering discovery. It's not just about the monetary value, it's about the story, the thrill, the suspense of uncovering something rare and magnificent in the most unlikely place. Even if you've been through countless coins, don't dismiss this one. The magic lies in the details. Examine, compare, and pay attention to the smallest inconsistencies. These subtle signs are the fingerprints of a coin that has the power to transform your life. History has proven time and again that ordinary coins can become legendary overnight. And the 2004 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is living proof, a modern coin with the potential to create wealth and astonishment. It's a symbol of luck, timing, and discovery all rolled into one tiny copper disc. So the next time you reach for spare change, pause. Look closely. Examine each penny as if it could change your life. Because, in some cases, it really can. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine holding a single coin in your hand, a coin that could change your life forever. Not just any coin, a coin worth over $1 million. A coin so rare that most collectors don't even know it exists. And yet, it may be hiding in plain sight, right in your pocket change. The story of the 1987 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny is one of mystery, mistakes, and unimaginable fortune. Most pennies from 1987 are common, everyday coins you barely notice. But among the billions minted that year, a tiny fraction carries a hidden flaw that turns an ordinary coin into a treasure worth millions. This penny isn't just metal and copper. It's a bridge between ordinary life and extraordinary wealth. It's a coin that has transformed ordinary people into millionaires overnight. The kind of luck most only dream about. So how did this coin come to be? It starts at the Denver Mint in 1987, where thousands of pennies were struck every day. Amid the clanging of presses and spinning of machines, a rare error occurred. A small imperfection, barely visible to the untrained eye, was embedded into certain coins. That tiny anomaly is what makes the 1987 D Lincoln penny a multi-million-dollar collectible today. Collectors call it the D Mint Mark error. Look closely at the D on the reverse of the coin, beneath the date. On most coins, it sits neatly, perfectly formed. But on the rare 1987 D pennies, the D appears doubled, sometimes faint, sometimes dramatic. This doubling, known as a double die, is what turns an everyday penny into a fortune. Identifying it requires patience, a keen eye, and a sense of excitement. First, check the date. Make sure it's 1987. Then examine the D Mint mark closely. If the D shows unusual thickness, shadowing, or appears slightly duplicated, you may have just uncovered a piece of history. Use a magnifying glass, a loupe, or even your phone camera. The difference is subtle, but for the trained eye, it's unmistakable. But the value of this penny goes beyond its rarity. It carries the thrill of discovery, the emotional surge of knowing you may have stumbled onto something extraordinary. Imagine the moment a collector realizes they're holding a coin that has sold for hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars at auction. It's not just money, it's a story, a legacy, a moment frozen in copper. And here's the thing. These pennies aren't just found in dusty collections. Some have surfaced in everyday transactions, tucked in drawers, jars, and boxes of old change. People have discovered million-dollar coins in their kitchens, garages, even under sofa cushions. That ordinary penny in your pocket could be hiding this incredible secret. Every few minutes, we reset the thrill. Imagine walking to a store, dropping a few coins on the counter, unaware that one of them is your ticket to unimaginable wealth. That excitement, that possibility, is what drives collectors to search through hundreds, sometimes thousands, of pennies. The 1987 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny isn't just about its monetary value. It's about the dream it represents. The idea that one small discovery could change your life, that patience, curiosity, and attention to detail could reward you in a way most people only see in movies. And while many collectors search obsessively, few understand the emotional weight of finding this coin. It's a mix of disbelief, exhilaration, and hope. Each coin tells a story: the history of the mint, the accidental error, the journey from pocket change to $1 million auction table. If you want to identify it, focus on three things: the date, the D Mint mark, and the subtle doubling. These are your clues, your map to hidden treasure. Examine your coins methodically, don't rush, and trust your instincts. The rare penny often hides among the ordinary, and only careful eyes will find it. Think about it: a coin minted decades ago, circulating unnoticed, suddenly worth over $1 million. It's a reminder that history is full of surprises, and sometimes the most extraordinary treasures are hidden in plain sight. Collectors who have found this coin often describe it as surreal. The ordinary becomes extraordinary, and a simple hobby transforms into life-changing fortune. Every detail matters: the angle of the D, The thickness of the letters, the tiny imperfections that make this penny one of the most valuable in the world. Remember, opportunity doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it's subtle, almost invisible. That's exactly what makes the 1987 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny so legendary. A small, unassuming coin that could carry unimaginable wealth, waiting patiently for someone with curiosity and patience to discover it. Start examining your coins. Look through your collections, your jars, your drawers. That ordinary-looking penny could be the one that makes headlines, the one that turns your ordinary day into an extraordinary life-changing event. But right in your pocket. Right now, there could be a tiny piece of American history, hiding in plain sight, waiting to transform someone's life forever. This is not a dream. This is the story of the 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, so shocking, it has stunned collectors across the country. Most people toss pennies without a second thought. But for a select few, one ordinary coin could be worth a fortune. The 1991 no-mint Mark penny carries a mysterious story. Minted in an era when Lincoln pennies were so common they jingled in every pocket, this coin slipped through the cracks, an error so rare that it has sold for over $1.6 million in pristine condition. Imagine that, a coin smaller than your fingernail, suddenly worth more than a house in some parts of the country. The mystery begins at the United States Mint. Every year, millions of pennies roll off the presses. Each is stamped with a tiny D or P to mark its origin, Denver or Philadelphia. But a handful of coins in 1991 were struck without a mint mark. Experts are still piecing together how it happened. Was it a mechanical glitch? A human oversight? We may never know. What we do know is that these no-mint mark pennies are some of the rarest modern coins in existence. Collectors call them the hidden $1 million treasure of the Lincoln series. But here's the thing, they look almost identical to ordinary pennies. The difference is subtle, almost invisible to the untrained eye. That's why this coin continues to surprise even the most seasoned collectors. To identify this penny, first examine the obverse, the front side of the coin. Look for Abraham Lincoln's profile, crisp, clean, and perfectly centered. Then, the crucial detail, the mint mark. A genuine 1991 no-mint mark penny will have no letter under the date at all. If you see a D or P, it's a regular penny. But if it's blank, your heart just might start racing. Next, check the condition. The value skyrockets when the coin shows minimal wear. In mint state, with sharp edges and a flawless surface, collectors have paid millions for this exact penny. One remarkable sale reached over $1.6 million, proving that even modern coins can hold unimaginable value. But don't let the excitement blind you. There are counterfeits and damaged coins masquerading as the real thing. Look for clear details on Lincoln's face, uniform edges, and a smooth, even surface. Every scratch or blemish can drastically reduce its value. This is a coin that demands attention, patience, and respect. Imagine the thrill of discovering one in a roll of pennies, in a jar tucked away on a shelf, or even loose in your pocket change. Thousands of people have overlooked these coins for years, unaware they were holding a fortune in their hands. And every so often, a lucky collector uncovers one, changing their life forever. The 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny isn't just valuable, it's inspiring. It reminds us that treasures are often hiding in the most ordinary places. A tiny mistake at the mint, a coin left in circulation, a moment of chance. These are the threads of a story that could make someone rich beyond imagination. $1 million fortunes are not always hidden in banks or vaults. Sometimes, they are lying quietly in plain sight. Every penny you handle could be the one. That ordinary coin in your wallet, or a roll you bought at the store, could contain the rare no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. Each coin carries the possibility of turning your ordinary day into a story you'll never forget. For collectors aged 30 to 70, this is the thrill, the hunt, the dream that keeps us searching, examining, and hoping. So, the next time you pick up a penny, pause. Examine it closely. Look under the date. Could it be the elusive 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny? The stakes are real. Lives have been changed with a single discovery. A fortune of over $1 million isn't just a fantasy, it's a tangible possibility. And the history, the story, the thrill of owning a piece of it, that's priceless. This coin is more than copper and zinc. It's a symbol of patience, luck, and the unexpected ways treasure can appear in your life. One careful glance, one moment of curiosity, could turn a simple penny into a life-altering fortune. And while millions of pennies exist, only a handful carry this extraordinary secret, waiting to be uncovered by someone vigilant, someone bold, someone like you. But $1.7 million. A single coin, hiding in plain sight, from 1992 with a tiny D stamped just below the date. Most people see it and toss it into a jar without a second thought, completely unaware of the fortune they're holding. Could this be you? The story of the 1992 D Lincoln penny isn't just a story about money. It's a story about chance, about luck, about the thrill of discovery. Back in 1992, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies, almost all ordinary, almost all overlooked. But among those billions, a small batch carried an unusual error. A minting flaw so rare, so subtle, that only the most careful eyes could spot it. This tiny imperfection is what turns a simple penny into a treasure worth millions of dollars. Imagine a young collector in the 1990s, flipping through a roll of coins, completely unaware that they're about to stumble on history. That's the thrill. The mystery. Every collector dreams of that moment. And yet, most people never even know what to look for. Here's the secret. The 1992 D penny isn't just valuable because it's old. It's valuable because of a very specific minting error, something that makes it stand out to collectors worldwide. First, check the date, 1992. Next, the mint mark, a small, precise D under the year. But the real treasure hides in the details. Look closely at the edges, at the strike of the coin, at the way Lincoln's profile appears. Some coins from this year were struck on doubled dies or show unusual spacing and doubling on the lettering. That tiny shift, barely noticeable to most, can make the difference between a coin worth a few cents and one worth $1.70 million. Every few minutes, there's a new discovery. A collector finds a coin that's slightly off. Maybe the D is slightly tilted. Maybe the date looks thicker than it should. These tiny anomalies are what make this coin a superstar among collectors. And the market reflects it. Coins in perfect condition have been known to sell for astonishing sums. $1 million transactions that seem unreal until you see the coin yourself. Think about the thrill, holding something so ordinary in your hand and realizing it could be a ticket to financial freedom. That's what makes coin collecting more than a hobby. It's a hunt, a search for hidden treasures that can transform lives overnight. People have found coins from the 1992 D batch tucked away in drawers, forgotten piggy banks, even rolled up in old coin rolls from decades ago. Every coin is a chance. Every coin is a story waiting to be told. So how do you spot it? Start with the basics. Examine every 1992 penny in your collection. Look at the D mint mark. Look for any doubling on the date or lettering. Inspect Lincoln's profile carefully. Feel the weight. Observe the shine. Authentic coins with the rare error show tiny anomalies that set them apart from ordinary pennies. These coins are rare, but they exist. And every discovery renews the excitement of a real-life treasure hunt. Now, imagine finding one at home. You didn't plan it. You didn't spend thousands searching. You simply reached into a jar of old coins and pulled out a penny with a story worth telling, a penny worth millions of dollars. That feeling, that mix of disbelief and joy, is what drives collectors across the country. Every day, people check old jars, forgotten drawers, dusty coin rolls, hoping for that life-changing discovery. The 1992 D Lincoln penny is more than just metal. It's history, mystery, and potential wrapped into one. It's proof that fortune can hide in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a little luck to uncover it. And while collectors across the nation dream of finding it, there's no formula, no guarantee, only the chance, and the thrill of the hunt. So take a moment, check your coins, inspect that jar, examine those rolls you've stashed away. You could be holding a tiny fortune without even knowing it. The next time you reach for a penny, remember, among the billions minted in 1992, there are those few extraordinary coins that can change your life forever. Imagine holding an ordinary penny in your hand and realizing it could be worth $1.8 million. One tiny coin, barely noticeable in your pocket, carrying a secret that could change your life forever. This isn't a story about rare 1800s coins or decades-old treasure, it's about a 2016 penny. A coin so new, yet so rare, it has stunned collectors across the country. And the craziest part? It might be sitting in your wallet or under the couch right now. The 2016 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny isn't just a piece of metal. It's a rare accident in history, a printing anomaly that escaped the eyes of the U.S. Mint. Normally, pennies from this year carry a D or P mint mark, showing where they were made. But some coins slip through with no mint mark at all. These are called off-metal or missing mint mark coins, and they are shockingly scarce. Out of billions minted, only a handful of these pennies exist. That's why collectors are willing to pay over $1 million for a single coin. The backstory is fascinating. In 2016, the U.S. Mint faced production challenges and human error. Some pennies bypassed the usual stamping process, leaving them without the tiny D or P that tells us where they came from. Most people would see these coins as ordinary, tossing them into jars or letting them slide through the cash register. But for collectors who know the secret, these coins are priceless. Imagine discovering one in your change. Your life could be transformed in an instant. Finding a 2016 no-mint mark penny requires patience and knowledge. Start with the obvious. Check every penny you receive. Look closely at the obverse, the side with Lincoln's portrait. No mint mark under the date? Keep it. The difference is tiny, often almost invisible to the untrained eye. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to confirm. Compare it to a standard 2016 penny. The missing mark is subtle, but once you know what to look for, it jumps out. Every coin you examine could be the next $1 million find. Collectors report that these pennies are often flawless, with deep copper tones and sharp details. Their rarity is compounded by the fact that most coins are discarded before anyone notices. And here's the emotional truth. People who find one describe a rush like winning the lottery, combined with the awe of holding history in their palm. You aren't just holding a coin, you're holding a piece of a secret story that could make you a millionaire. Imagine the thrill. One coin in your change could be more valuable than your car, your savings, or even your house. Stories abound of coins selling for over $1 million at auction. The excitement, the disbelief, the life-changing potential, it's all real. And every day, ordinary people stumble upon them without realizing it. You could be one of them. So, how do you increase your chances? First, check every penny that comes your way. Bank rolls, pocket change, coins from friends and family. Second, study the details. Look for tiny irregularities around the date. The 2016 no-mint mark penny may also have subtle differences in weight or color compared to normal pennies. Third, trust your instincts. If something feels unusual about a penny, hold on to it. Don't let it slip away. Even seasoned collectors admit that patience is key. Some spend years combing through thousands of pennies without a single find. Others stumble upon the right coin in a single shopping trip. That's the mystery, the suspense, the magic of rare coins. You never know where or when fortune will strike, but when it does, it can be staggering. The value of this penny isn't just in the metal, it's in the story, the rarity, the thrill of discovery. One coin has the power to change lives, to make dreams real, to take a simple object and turn it into $1 million treasure. And the best part? It's still out there, waiting to be found. Remember, this coin is so rare that even collectors who thought they had seen everything are stunned when they spot one. It's a reminder that sometimes, life's biggest surprises come in the smallest packages. A coin no bigger than your thumb, a mistake no bigger than a tiny dot of metal, can hold unimaginable value. This is why every coin matters. Every penny you handle could be hiding a secret worth more than you ever imagined. Millions of dollars in value are hiding in plain sight, and the 2016 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is proof. It's rare, it's extraordinary, and it could be anywhere. But what if I told you that this simple coin could be worth $1.9 million? That the exact penny you're holding might be a life-changing treasure hiding in plain sight. Most people walk past it every single day without realizing what they've stumbled upon. It all begins in 1968, a year of change and uncertainty in America. Amid protests, moonshot dreams, and a world racing forward, the U.S. Mint quietly struck coins for everyday use, coins that would pass through countless hands, unnoticed, forgotten. But some of these pennies were different. A single variation, a subtle mint mark placed at the San Francisco Mint, turned an ordinary Lincoln penny into a rarity worth millions of dollars. The 1968 Mint mark Lincoln penny is not just a coin. It is a story frozen in copper. Its value doesn't come from flashy designs or intricate engravings. It comes from its scarcity, its hidden errors, and the thrill of discovery. Collectors who understand this coin can instantly recognize it by the small S near the date, a mark that signifies it came from the San Francisco Mint. But here's the secret: not every S penny from 1968 is the jackpot. Only those in pristine condition, untouched by decades of circulation, can reach the staggering price tag that makes jaws drop. Picture a coin dealer unwrapping a roll of pennies. One by one, he flicks through them, scanning for that subtle hint of rarity. And then, he pauses. His heart races. There it is, a penny so flawless, so precise, that it belongs in a museum. The story of that coin could have been lost forever, yet here it is, waiting for someone with the eye to see it. You might wonder, how can a coin from 1968, a year with millions of pennies minted, be worth so much? The answer lies in survival and perfection. Most pennies from that era show scratches, worn edges, or faded details. But the 1968 Lincoln penny that commands millions has escaped all of that. Its copper surface gleams as if it was minted yesterday, its date sharp, its mint mark perfectly placed. That's why when one hits the auction block, collectors bid fiercely, driving its value into the seven-figure range. Here's how to identify it. First, examine the date. You need a clear 1968 stamped on the coin. Next, look just below the date. Do you see a tiny, delicate S? That's your first clue. Third, evaluate the condition. If the penny is shiny, without scratches, and shows every detail of Lincoln's profile perfectly, you may be holding a candidate for $1 million coin. And finally, consider the rarity. Only a small fraction of 1968 pennies meet these standards. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, a needle that could make you rich beyond imagination. Stories of discovery are everywhere. Some lucky collectors find one in a jar of old change passed down from grandparents. Others stumble upon it in pocket change at the grocery store, thinking nothing of it until an expert confirms the truth. One single penny can transform a life, turning ordinary people into millionaires overnight. The emotional impact of that discovery is impossible to overstate. People cry, laugh, and marvel at the realization that something they held in their hand for years was actually worth more than their house. And it's not just about money. This coin is a connection to history, to craftsmanship, to the people who made it and the hands it passed through. Every tiny scratch, every sheen, tells a story. And when you finally hold a 1968 penny in perfect condition, you are holding history, tangible, copper history that has survived decades just for you to find it. The thrill of the hunt is part of the magic. Even if you never own one, learning to spot the subtle differences, the mint mark, the impeccable condition, transforms the way you see every penny. Suddenly, your pocket change isn't just spare change, it's potential treasure. Imagine sorting through a jar of coins, and one glints just right. Your heart skips a beat. Could it be? You check, double-check, and realize, yes, it has the perfect mint mark, the date is flawless, and it gleams with untouched beauty. You may be holding a penny worth over $1 million. Collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday people have all experienced the indescribable thrill of discovery. It's the kind of story that reminds us why we keep looking, why we keep searching through drawers, jars, and forgotten rolls. Because sometimes, the universe hides its miracles in the simplest places: a coin, a pocket, a hand.so. The next time you glance at a penny, don't just see 1 cent, look closer. Study the date. Inspect the mint mark. Consider the condition. One day, the coin you thought was ordinary may reveal itself as extraordinary. That's the secret of the 1968 mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin with a mysterious past, a dazzling present, and a future that could change your life forever. But right now, one ordinary-looking penny, hiding a secret so powerful, it could be worth over $1 million. Most people walk past it every day, unaware that the key to unimaginable wealth could be right in their pocket. This isn't a story about ancient coins or dusty treasures buried in the ground. This is about a 2017 mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin minted just a few years ago, small, copper-colored, seemingly ordinary. Yet in certain rare forms, this penny has shocked collectors and experts alike, fetching jaw-dropping prices at auctions, up to $1.1 million. That's right, one coin, more valuable than most people make in a lifetime. How can something so tiny hold such staggering value? The answer lies in mistakes, rarity, and a mysterious twist in the minting process. You see, the US Mint produces billions of pennies each year. But in 2017, a handful slipped through with subtle, almost invisible errors. Some had double dies, where the design appeared twice, slightly misaligned. Others had misstruck features, giving the Lincoln Memorial or the year an unusual, almost ghostly appearance. These errors are tiny, often invisible to the naked eye, yet they are what make a penny worth millions. Now, imagine the story of this penny. It started as a batch of coins, rolling off machines, destined for ordinary pockets and wallets. Most would live a mundane life, spent and forgotten. But a few, incredibly rare, were quietly set apart by fate, imperfections that make them treasures. These pennies were destined not to jingle in cash registers but to stun collectors, to spark auctions where bids climbed into the millions. Collectors described the thrill as electrifying. One moment, you hold a coin, nothing special. The next, you notice a tiny doubling of the date. Or a strange mark that shouldn't be there. That's when the heart starts racing. That's when the thought hits, this could be the one. The one that turns dreams into reality. A coin worth over $1 million could be hiding in your change jar, right under your nose. But how do you spot it? How do you separate an ordinary 2017 penny from one that could be a life-changing discovery? First, look closely at the date, 2017, and the mint mark P, located just below the year. Use a magnifying glass. Then, examine the features. Is Lincoln's profile sharper than usual? Are there tiny doubled lines on the letters, the date, or the steps of the memorial? Compare with a standard penny. These subtle clues are what experts hunt for. The difference between a regular penny and $1 million treasure can be smaller than the thickness of a human hair. Every detail matters. The coin's condition, the crispness of the strike, the absence of wear, these factors compound the value. A penny kept in a drawer, untouched, can suddenly become priceless. And history shows us this isn't speculation. Auction records confirm it. Bidders have paid millions for Lincoln pennies with similar rare anomalies. 2017 pennies with the right errors and in top condition are now among those astonishing finds. Think about the excitement, the disbelief, the joy of holding something that ordinary people discard as loose change. This isn't just a coin. It's a portal to dreams you didn't know were possible. It's proof that fortune favors the observant, the patient, the curious. Every time you empty a pocket or open a jar of pennies, you could be seconds away from discovering a treasure beyond imagination. And imagine the moment it happens. You see that faint doubling. Your heart skips. You compare it. You research it. And slowly, the realization sets in, this is no ordinary penny. This could be the one. The auction bids, the experts, the whispers in collector circles, they all come to life in that instant. One coin, sitting quietly in your hand, suddenly worth over $1 million. Collectors often tell stories of disbelief, of calling friends in excitement, of sleepless nights imagining what they could do with the money. A single 2017 Lincoln penny with the right misprint could fund dreams, pay off debts, change lives. And yet, millions of ordinary pennies continue to circulate, unnoticed, overlooked, waiting for someone to see the potential hiding within. So, when you next handle change, when a copper penny drops into your hand, take a moment. Study it. Appreciate it. Look for signs that it might not be ordinary at all. The doubled lines, the faint anomalies, the subtle differences. Each one could be a clue. Each one could be the coin that transforms your life forever. History proves it. A coin's value is not in its metal, but in its rarity, its story, and the eyes that recognize it. And now, 2017 pennies with the right characteristics are the new legends, the new million-dollar discoveries waiting for the lucky, the patient, the alert. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a coin, and realizing it could be worth over $1 million. That's not a fantasy. That's the reality of one of the most shocking finds in coin collecting history, the 1969 Lincoln penny. A coin hiding in plain sight, yet capable of changing lives in an instant. The story begins in 1969, a year of turbulence, of change, and yet, quietly, in the U.S. Mint, a small mistake was made. A coin was struck with an unusual double die on the reverse, making it one of the rarest Lincoln pennies ever produced. Most Americans never imagined a simple penny could carry this kind of secret. Collectors stumbled upon it decades later. At first, they couldn't believe their eyes. A penny, something most of us consider ordinary, suddenly transformed into a treasure worth millions. And yet, it remained elusive. Only a handful exist today, and every coin that surfaces instantly sends shockwaves through the numismatic world. The 1969 penny has a story hidden in its very design. Look closely at the mint mark, the D for Denver. Notice the details on the reverse, especially the lines in the Lincoln Memorial. On these coins, a subtle doubling appears, a ghost-like echo in the metal itself. This is not wear or damage. This is the hallmark of a minting error so rare that even seasoned collectors hold their breath when one appears. Now, imagine the anticipation when someone first realized they were holding one. The simple act of dropping a penny into a collection could turn into an unimaginable discovery. People have sold these coins for shocking sums, sometimes exceeding $1 million. Yes, one small piece of copper can carry the weight of a fortune. But how do you spot it? Start with the mint mark. The D should appear slightly doubled, a faint shadow just behind the main letter. Examine Lincoln's profile on the obverse. Look at the details in his hair and the lines under his chin. The doubling can appear almost imperceptible at first, but once you know what to look for, it jumps out. Every line, every ridge tells a story. Every detail could be worth millions. Imagine the emotional impact of holding a coin like this. You run your fingers over its surface, feeling the history, feeling the weight of rarity. This is more than metal. This is a bridge to the past, a tangible connection to the year 1969, to the hands that struck it, and the eyes that discovered it decades later. Each penny carries a story, but this one could carry your fortune. Collectors often share stories of finding these pennies in change, tucked away in old jars or forgotten drawers. The suspense of not knowing if the next coin you pick up is worth nothing, or everything, is almost unbearable. And when that discovery is made, the transformation is immediate. Ordinary turns into extraordinary, mundane into million-dollar opportunity. Experts caution patience. Not every 1969 penny is the golden ticket. Condition matters. Coins with sharp details, minimal wear, and clear doubling command the highest prices. Professionals examine every angle under magnification. They measure, they scrutinize, they confirm. Because one mistake could cost thousands, or even millions. The fascination isn't just in the value, though. It's in the mystery, the thrill, the hunt. Imagine searching through coins, your heart racing, knowing that the next find could be life-changing. And then, there it is, the faint shadow behind the D, the subtle doubling on the reverse. You hold history in your hand, and suddenly, the world feels limitless. Stories circulate of these pennies selling at auctions for staggering sums. Families suddenly find themselves with fortunes they never expected. Ordinary people, just like you, holding a simple coin that transforms their reality. And yet, despite its fame, most people have never seen one in person. It's the rarity, the suspense, the allure that makes this coin legendary. Think about this for a moment. A coin that fits in the palm of your hand could carry the weight of over $1 million. Every angle, every detail, every shadow tells a secret story. And it's a story that could belong to you. Every day, ordinary people overlook the treasures around them, but sometimes, fortune hides in the most unassuming places. The thrill, the suspense, the emotional impact. This is what makes collecting coins an experience unlike any other. And among all the pennies minted over the decades, the 1969 D stands apart. A silent sentinel of history, a rare masterpiece, a ticket to wealth for those lucky enough to recognize it.so. When you examine your coins, when you sift through change, when you consider the ordinary penny in your hand, remember, the extraordinary is often hiding in plain sight. A tiny minting error, a subtle doubling, a faint shadow, and suddenly, your life could change forever. Imagine walking through your kitchen, sipping your morning coffee, and casually checking the change in your pocket. Among the nickels, dimes, and pennies, there's one coin that could change your life forever. One coin, ordinary to the untrained eye, but in reality, worth over $1 million. This is the story of the 2060 Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that hides in plain sight, yet carries a fortune in its copper core. It all started with a quiet year in 2006, a year when millions of pennies were stamped, destined to circulate through pockets, cash registers, and coin jars. Most people never gave them a second glance. But a small number of these pennies were struck in a way that made them extraordinarily rare. Errors during the minting process left subtle marks, tiny deviations in the design, that transformed the simple Lincoln penny into a collector's dream. These pennies didn't scream wealth. They didn't come in velvet boxes or polished displays. They arrived quietly, often tossed into a jar or a drawer, waiting for someone perceptive enough to notice. Imagine discovering a coin so rare, so perfectly preserved, that it could command millions of dollars at auction. The thrill is almost unimaginable, and yet, it's real. So what makes the 2006 D Lincoln penny so valuable? It starts with the mint mark, the small D stamped on the coin, representing the Denver Mint. But this isn't just any D. Some coins from 2006 were struck with errors that make them almost one of a kind. You need to look closely. The spacing, the shape, the alignment of letters. Tiny doubling or misplacement can turn a common penny into a golden ticket. The edges, the relief, even the texture can hide clues that only an eagle-eyed collector can spot. The story of these pennies took collectors by storm when a few appeared at auctions and private sales. One top-condition coin sold for hundreds of thousands, while reports hinted that coins in pristine condition could reach over $1 million. Imagine the shock of ordinary Americans, cleaning out a drawer or checking their spare change, only to find a coin that could fund generations. This penny isn't just about money. It's about discovery, the thrill of the hunt, the heart-pounding excitement of realizing you hold history in your hand. It's about connecting to a moment in time, a snapshot of the minting process that only a few coins survived. For collectors, it's more than copper and zinc, it's a story etched into metal, a mystery waiting to be unraveled. So how do you identify a 2006 D Lincoln penny with this kind of value? First, check the mint mark. The Denver D should be precise, sharp, and well aligned. Look for anomalies, doubling on letters or numbers, unusual spacing, or tiny imperfections that shouldn't exist. Examine the date. Errors are more valuable in coins with certain die varieties. Hold it under good light, turn it, tilt it. These pennies reveal their secrets slowly, almost as if they're daring you to notice. Collectors who discover these coins often describe the moment as surreal. 1 second, it's just a coin. The next, it's a potential life changer. The feeling is electric. Every line, every curve, every tiny flaw matters. It's a game of patience, attention, and intuition. And the reward? The possibility of walking away with something worth millions of dollars. Even if you've never collected coins, imagine the power of that discovery. Picture checking your old jars, boxes, or drawers, sifting through coins you thought were worthless, and suddenly spotting that glint, that mint mark, that subtle error that others might overlook. It's like holding a secret the world doesn't know, a secret that could be worth a fortune. These pennies are rare, yes. But they're out there. Waiting. Patiently lying in drawers, wallets, and cash registers. They are the ultimate reminder that treasure can appear where you least expect it. And when you hold one in your hand, you're not just holding a coin, you're holding the story of an era, the magic of chance, and the promise of something extraordinary. For many, it's the thrill of possibility that keeps them hunting, examining every coin, learning every nuance. And for those who understand the details, the mint mark, the die variety, the subtle errors, the payoff could be life-changing. It's a pursuit that blends history, science, and intuition. And every once in a while, it ends in discovery. Remember, it's not just about spotting a coin. It's about seeing the story behind it, the moment of creation at the Denver Mint, and understanding the rarity. It's the kind of discovery that makes your heart race, your hands tremble, and your mind wonder if luck is finally on your side. But what if I told you this ordinary penny could be worth over $1 million? Yes, a single 1986 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has the potential to change a life overnight. The story of this coin begins quietly, back in the bustling mints of the United States in 1986. Millions of pennies rolled off the presses that year, destined for pockets, jars, and cash registers. Among them, a tiny fraction emerged with no mint mark at all. On the surface, it seems trivial, just a small dot missing, an oversight. But for collectors, this detail turns a simple penny into a treasure worth millions. Collectors call it a hidden gem for a reason. Most people don't even know it exists. Banks, stores, and ordinary households are filled with 1986 pennies, but the no-mint mark version is rare. Extremely rare. Imagine holding in your hand a piece of history that almost no one knows about, a coin that whispers secrets from the past, from the very moment it was struck in the mint. Now, let's take a closer look. The first thing to know is that this penny has no D or S under the ear. That absence is subtle but unmistakable once you know what to look for. Compare it to a standard 1986 penny. Notice the small mint mark near the date. If it's missing entirely, congratulations, you may have found a coin that could be worth up to $1.40 million, but there's more. The details on the coin itself tell a story. Look at Lincoln's profile, the lines on his coat, the curve of his hair, the sharpness of the date. The finest examples of this coin preserve these details almost perfectly. Condition matters. A penny in pristine condition, with full luster and minimal wear, is where the magic happens. These coins have sold for astronomical prices because collectors recognize their rarity and historical significance. Here's something most people don't realize. These coins were minted during a time when the United States was still experimenting with production techniques. Tiny errors, small misprints, and absent mint marks were more common than anyone expected, but only a few survive today. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, except the needle is shining, polished, and potentially worth a fortune. Think about the thrill of discovery. Imagine opening a jar of pennies, sorting through the usual copper, and suddenly your hand brushes against something extraordinary. The heart races, your mind races, and the impossible suddenly feels possible. This isn't just a coin, it's a key to a story, a mystery wrapped in copper, waiting for the right person to recognize its value. Now, let's talk numbers. This 1986 no-mint mark penny has been reported in top condition, selling for as much as $1.4 million. That's not a typo. One small penny, hidden in plain sight, can be worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. And it's not just about money, it's about the thrill, the history, the idea that something seemingly insignificant can become life-changing in an instant. How can you identify this coin if you're searching through your own collection? First, check the date. 1986. Then, examine the area under the date carefully. No mint mark. That's it. Simple in theory, but deceptively rare. Second, inspect the coin's condition. Look for scratches, discoloration, or wear. The higher the grade, the closer you are to a potentially $1 million discovery. And third, if you're unsure, have a professional grading service authenticate it. Experts in coin grading can confirm if your coin is genuine, and that's where the $1,000,000 magic truly comes to life. Remember, this coin has a mysterious allure because of its scarcity. Not every 1986 penny without a mint mark is valuable, but the right one, preserved in excellent condition, can become one of the most sought-after coins in the collector world. Every time one of these coins comes up for sale, it makes headlines. Collectors from across the country compete fiercely, bidding tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and yes, even millions of dollars. Imagine telling your friends you own a coin worth more than a house, a car, or even a small business. That's the reality for a lucky few who have discovered this elusive penny. The excitement isn't just in the value, it's in the story, the rarity, and the sense that you've uncovered something the world almost forgot existed. As you go through your own collection, or even your spare change, think about the possibilities. Could that ordinary coin in your drawer be hiding a secret? Could it be the 1986 no mint mark penny that will someday make headlines and change your life forever? This coin is more than copper and ink. It's a piece of history, a symbol of the unexpected, a testament to the thrill of discovery. Millions of ordinary coins were minted, but only a select few carry this rare distinction. And while many dream of stumbling upon such a treasure, only a handful ever do. Could you be one of them? Could the luck, the timing, and the keen eye come together perfectly in your hands? But a ticket to unimaginable wealth? A coin worth over $1,000,000 hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to recognize its true value. Today, we're uncovering the incredible story of the 1964 D mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that could change someone's life overnight. The year was 1964, a time of transformation in America. Civil rights movements, cultural shifts, and the quiet hum of everyday life. And in the midst of this, the United States Mint was quietly producing pennies. Millions were struck that year, but among them, a rare few held a secret. A secret that could make a single penny worth $1.5 million. Most people see them as everyday coins, ordinary, forgotten. But for those who know, this penny is nothing short of a miracle, a treasure hidden in plain sight. So, what makes this coin so special? It's not just the date. It's not just the mint mark. It's the combination of subtle errors and minting anomalies that experts search for decades. A 1964 D penny is supposed to have a strong D mint mark, perfectly centered. But in these rare $1,000,000 examples, collectors have found minute differences. Tiny doubling on the lettering, slightly misaligned features, a luster that shines differently under the right light. These are the whispers of history captured in copper and zinc. Picture this: a collector sifting through loose change at a flea market, thinking they're just grabbing a handful of pennies. And there it is, a glint of something unusual. They examine it under a magnifying glass, and their heart races. This isn't just any penny. This is a 1964 D, pristine, with a minting anomaly that could make it worth millions. Stories like this are not myths. They happen. And when they do, lives change in an instant. If you're sitting there thinking, I could never spot something like that, let me guide you. Identifying a 1964 D Lincoln penny worth a fortune starts with the basics. Look at the D mint mark. It should be on the lower right of Lincoln's bust. Examine the date closely. Doubling or unusual spacing can indicate the rare errors collectors crave. Check the strike quality. Millions of pennies are dull, worn, or poorly struck. A potential $1,000,000 coin will have sharp details, a mirror-like surface, and a luster that seems almost alive. Now, let's talk about condition. A penny can be worth hundreds, thousands, or millions depending on how it survived over the decades. Uncirculated coins, with no scratches, no tarnish, and edges intact, are the holy grail. Even slight imperfections can dramatically affect the value. That's why professional grading is crucial. Experts meticulously examine the coin under magnification, measuring every detail, every line, every reflection. It's not just a hobby, it's science, history, and art combined. The history behind this coin is as captivating as its value. During the 1960s, mint production was ramping up. Millions of pennies were struck, but quality control was not perfect. That's where the rarity comes from. Small mistakes in mass production can create enormous value decades later. It's a lesson in patience, in paying attention to the overlooked, in recognizing that the ordinary sometimes holds the extraordinary. Imagine holding this penny in your hand. The copper gleams, you feel the weight, the history beneath your fingers. This coin has traveled through countless hands, survived wallets, pockets, and cash registers, yet here it is, perfect, waiting for the right person to realize what it truly is. That's the allure of coin collecting, the thrill of discovery, the possibility that one simple, forgotten object could be worth over $1 million. And don't think this is just about luck. Knowledge is power. Learn to identify key characteristics. Study images of verified 1964 penny errors. Compare weight, color, and mint mark placement. The more you know, the higher your chances of uncovering something life-changing in the most unexpected places. Every coin tells a story, but only the sharp-eyed and informed collectors can read it. History has shown us that these coins occasionally surface in the most unlikely places: a jar of change, a forgotten desk drawer, a donation pile. The ordinary world keeps moving around them, oblivious. And then, in one extraordinary moment, someone realizes they're holding a treasure that could instantly alter the course of their life. That's the magic of the 1964 Lincoln penny. As you think about your own coin collection, or even the loose change you pass by every day, remember this: millions of ordinary pennies exist, but only a rare few have the potential to be worth millions of dollars. One precise mint mark, one tiny anomaly, one perfect condition can transform the mundane into the miraculous. And sometimes, that treasure is closer than you think. So, next time you reach for a penny, examine it closely. Take a moment to see what others overlook. Look for the D mint mark, the date, the details, the luster. Because among the millions of coins in circulation, one could be the 1964 penny, ready to reward the patient, the observant, and the lucky. Most people walk past it every day, completely unaware of its existence. This isn't some fantasy. This is the 2006 mint mark Lincoln penny. Back in 2006, billions of pennies were minted, scattered into circulation across the United States. But among them, a tiny fraction was produced with a minting error so subtle that almost no one noticed. These coins, overlooked by millions, would later become some of the most valuable pennies ever discovered. And yes, collectors have paid millions for them in pristine condition. So, what makes this penny so special? It all starts at the Denver Mint, where the penny was struck. Normally, every coin is supposed to have a perfectly centered D mint mark, the symbol that identifies its origin. But a rare few emerged with a misaligned or doubled mint mark, a printing anomaly that turns a common penny into a treasure worth millions. These small imperfections, invisible to the untrained eye, make all the difference. Now you might be wondering, how do you spot this hidden treasure? Start by examining the coin under bright light, preferably with a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Look at the D mint mark closely. If it appears unusually thick, slightly raised, or seems to have a shadow effect, congratulations, you may be holding a 2006 D mint mark penny with the rare error. Next, check the details on Lincoln's face and the lines on the back. Minor shifts or doubling in these features can further confirm the coin's rarity. Collectors who stumbled upon this penny describe a strange mixture of disbelief and excitement. One moment it's just a coin, the next it's a life-changing artifact that could fetch up to $1 million. Imagine discovering something so ordinary, so easily overlooked, that transforms into a symbol of unimaginable wealth. That's the thrill of rare coin hunting. It's not just the physical coin that carries value, it's the story behind it. Every misprinted penny has survived years in circulation, often forgotten in jars, drawers, and wallets. The people who found these pennies didn't buy them at auction. They found them by chance, sometimes among hundreds of ordinary coins, each one a potential doorway to $1 million fortune. But time is critical. Every year, more of these pennies are found, graded, and removed from circulation. That means the window to discover your own 2006 D mint mark Lincoln penny is shrinking. And once a coin is graded as error by professional services, its value can skyrocket into the millions almost overnight. Now, let's reset for a moment. Picture yourself at the checkout line, handing over a handful of change to the cashier. Hidden among those coins, you notice one with a slightly off-center, D mint mark. You pause. Your heart races. Could this be the one? Could this single penny, overlooked by millions, be worth millions to the right collector? The emotional journey of finding a rare coin is like no other. Excitement. Anxiety. Hope. And then, finally, confirmation. When a 2060 mint mark penny is authenticated, its value can reach astronomical figures, with reports of some selling for over $1 million in top condition. Just one small coin, capable of rewriting your financial future. So, how do you make sure you don't miss your chance? Examine every penny you come across. Pay attention to the mint mark. Study the minute details on both sides of the coin. Even the smallest anomaly can be your ticket to a fortune. Remember, these coins are rare, but they exist. And history has shown that ordinary people, like you and me, stumble upon them every single year. Think about it. A coin you pass by without a second thought could be your $1 million opportunity. Hidden in a dusty jar, tucked into an old wallet, or sitting quietly in your change drawer. The thrill isn't just in the money, it's in the discovery, the moment of realization that something ordinary in your hand is actually extraordinary. Every few minutes, collectors around the country are scanning their pennies, looking for that telltale sign, a tiny misaligned D, a double detail, or a faint anomaly that separates the common from the exceptional. And every time one of these coins is found, it makes headlines. Because it isn't just a penny, it's $1 million secret waiting to be uncovered. So, as you go through your coins today, take a moment to look closely. Examine each penny, especially those from 2006 with the Denver mint mark. One coin in particular, with its subtle imperfections, holds a story worth millions. And if you're patient, diligent, and just a little bit lucky, you might be the next person to uncover it. But what if I told you this very penny could be worth $1.7 million? Right now, it could be hiding in plain sight, in someone's wallet, on a dusty shelf, or tucked inside a jar of loose change. Most people pass it by without a second thought. But this coin, it's different. The story of the 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny begins in a time when pennies were taken for granted. It was the era of bustling coin production, with millions minted across the country. But hidden among these everyday coins were a rare few mistakes, misprints, and anomalies that transformed ordinary cents into treasures worth millions. What makes the 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny so special is deceptively simple. On every penny from that year, you should see a tiny letter indicating its origin, D for Denver, P for Philadelphia. But this coin, it carries no mint mark at all. Just the familiar face of Lincoln staring back at you, perfectly minted, yet missing this critical detail. That small absence creates a ripple that transforms this humble penny into a $1 million rarity. Collectors who know the science search relentlessly. The coin must be flawless, with no wear, scratches, or discoloration. Its coppery sheen should gleam like it's fresh from the mint. Every line, every curve of Lincoln's profile, every detail on the reverse must be sharp, untouched, and perfectly centered. One imperfection can drop its value dramatically. Now, here's the secret that separates casual collectors from the truly lucky. Not every 1988 penny without a mint mark is worth millions. Experts look for subtle clues, the shape of the lettering, the spacing, the depth of the design. Only pennies that meet these exact specifications have ever sold for astronomical sums. In fact, verified sales of these coins have shattered records, sometimes changing hands for amounts that make most of us dizzy, up to $1.7 million. Imagine holding a coin that can transform someone's life overnight. But the thrill isn't just in the number. There's a human story behind every sale. People discover these pennies tucked away in childhood collections, old jars, even under couch cushions. Ordinary folks, who never imagined their loose change could be life-changing, suddenly find themselves holding a fortune. Dreams that once seemed distant become tangible. That's the power of rarity. That's the power of knowing what to look for. If you want to identify this coin for yourself, here's what to do. Take out your pennies from 1988. Look for the mint mark, or the absence of one. Examine the coin carefully under bright light. Check Lincoln's profile, the rim, the year, and the reverse shield. Compare it with a verified 1988 D or P penny. Does it look identical, except for the missing mark? If it does, you may have stumbled onto something extraordinary. Remember, the market is highly selective. Professional grading services can authenticate these coins, confirming their condition and rarity. A coin that passes this scrutiny can fetch jaw-dropping sums at auction. Collectors and investors alike chase them relentlessly, and the thrill of the hunt is half the excitement. It's not just a coin, it's a piece of history, a story frozen in copper, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The rarity, the condition, the story, they all combine to make this penny an almost mythical treasure. Some people have searched their entire lives for a coin like this, never knowing that it might have been sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, or a forgotten collection all along. The thought that an ordinary, everyday coin could hold such extraordinary value is enough to make even the most skeptical collector pause and reconsider every penny they've ever handled. So, the next time you reach into your pocket or dig through your loose change, remember this: that small, overlooked coin could be hiding a secret that changes everything. It's not just metal. It's history. It's fortune. It's hope, wrapped in copper, waiting for the right person to recognize it. And here's the most astonishing part: this isn't a story about someone else. It's about the possibility that you could be holding this treasure. You don't need to travel far, spend a fortune, or search for decades. Sometimes, the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting for a keen eye, a little knowledge, and a touch of luck. The story of this penny begins in the United States, in the bustling mints of 1994. Most pennies are ordinary. They pass through millions of hands every day, barely noticed. But a few coins carry a secret, a subtle flaw, a rare variation, a hidden story stamped in copper. The 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is one of those coins. At first glance, it looks like any other penny in your pocket. But for those who know what to look for, it's a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Collectors often describe this penny as the holy grail of modern coin collecting. Unlike rare pennies from the early 1900s, this one survived decades in circulation, unnoticed, waiting for someone with sharp eyes to spot it. And when it's found, the value is staggering. Some examples have sold for over $1 million, completely transforming ordinary lives overnight. But what makes this coin so special? The key lies in the absence of the mint mark. In 1994, pennies were produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Most coins carry a small D for Denver. But a tiny fraction of pennies were minted in Philadelphia and somehow, unusually, have no mint mark at all. This absence isn't a mistake that's easy to spot unless you know exactly where to look. Here's how to identify it. First, check the front of the coin. Look closely at the area beneath Lincoln's bust. A genuine 1994 no-mint mark penny will have a perfectly smooth space where the mint mark should be. Some fakes may appear blank at first, but a trained eye can detect faint indentations or errors. Next, examine the details of Lincoln's features, the lines in his hair, the crispness of his profile. These coins were struck with exceptional clarity in top condition, and any significant wear could decrease the value dramatically. Now, imagine holding one in your hand. The weight, the texture, the unmistakable shine. This is a coin that carried the hopes of a nation in 1994, circulated through pockets, purses, and cash registers. And now, decades later, it could be sitting right under your nose. Many collectors spend years searching, scouring every coin roll, every jar of pennies, hoping to uncover this elusive treasure. And yet, some people stumble upon it completely by accident, in their own change, in a forgotten drawer, even in a couch cushion. The thrill of the hunt is part of the allure. Every coin you inspect could be the one that turns an ordinary day into a historic moment. The 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just valuable because of copper or age, it's valuable because of its story. It's a whisper from the past, a testament to the rare mistakes that sometimes slip through the hands of the most careful mint workers. These tiny anomalies are what turn a simple penny into $1 million coin, Collectors who have discovered these coins often describe a moment of disbelief, a rush of emotion. It's not just about the money, though the thought of $1.8 million changing a life is undeniably powerful. It's about holding history in your hand, realizing that something ordinary became extraordinary through a quirk of fate. Each scratch, each gleam of copper tells a story of survival, rarity, and incredible luck. But there's a warning too. With so many fake no-mint mark pennies circulating, identifying the real one is crucial. Look for coins graded by reputable services. Check the weight, the details, and the precise location of Lincoln's bust. Study the edges, the font of the date, the smoothness where the mint mark would be. Mistakes are easy to miss, but missing one could mean overlooking a coin worth millions. Every collector dreams of the day they stumble upon such a coin. Some imagine searching through boxes in an attic or rolls of pennies handed out at banks. Others think it's luck alone. But the truth is, it's a mix of patience, knowledge, and that spark of intuition, that gut feeling that something in your hand isn't ordinary. And when that moment comes, it's unforgettable. Think about this: a coin you dismiss every day, a coin so ordinary it blends into your change jar, could be the very coin that sets your life on a completely different path. A penny from 1994, with no mint mark, could be the difference between dreaming about wealth and holding it in your hand. The excitement, the suspense, the sheer disbelief, it's a treasure hunt, a puzzle, and a miracle all at once. So next time you open your drawer or empty your change jar, pay attention. Look closely. The 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is out there, hidden in plain sight. Millions of ordinary pennies circulate every day, but one of them is extraordinary, waiting to be discovered. The knowledge, the patience, and a little bit of luck could be all you need to transform your life. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that could instantly change your life. Not a rare diamond, not a hidden treasure chest buried in the ground, but a simple penny. A penny minted in 1988, from Denver, seemingly ordinary, yet hiding a secret that could make someone $1.9 million richer. Most people pass by pennies every single day. They drop them in jars, leave them on countertops, or toss them into vending machines. But hidden among them are coins so rare, so unique, that their value is absolutely staggering. The 1988 D. Lincoln penny is one of those coins. And what makes it so special isn't obvious at first glance. The story begins in the United States Mint, where billions of pennies were produced that year. Millions of coins rolled off the presses, almost all identical. But in the chaos of mass production, a handful of coins were struck incorrectly, giving them a subtle, yet game-changing error. Only a few collectors and insiders even knew about this hidden anomaly. It was a whisper among coin enthusiasts for decades, growing louder as those lucky enough to spot one began selling them for staggering amounts. This coin has a unique feature that separates it from the thousands of ordinary 1988 D pennies. Look closely at the mint mark, the D, that signifies Denver. On the rare penny, this mint mark appears doubled, or shifted in a way that's almost impossible to miss once you know what to look for. It might seem like a tiny detail, but to collectors, this is gold. A subtle anomaly that transforms a coin worth a few cents into a prize valued at millions. And the numbers prove it. In recent years, these pennies have been sold for prices that most people can't even imagine. One in perfect condition recently fetched nearly $1.9 million at auction. That's right, a coin no bigger than a dime, made of copper and zinc, worth almost $2 million. Imagine the life-changing possibilities of finding one of these hiding in your own coin jar, tucked away under decades of everyday change. But spotting this coin isn't just luck. You need to know exactly what to look for. Examine the penny under bright light. Focus on the D mint mark. Compare it with a standard 1988 D penny. Notice any doubling, any unusual thickness, or unevenness. The error might be subtle, but it's unmistakable once you train your eye. Look for coins in uncirculated or near perfect condition. The smoother and shinier the coin, the higher the potential value. Even a tiny scratch or wear can significantly affect its worth. It's astonishing how history, accident, and design flaws can collide to create something this extraordinary. For decades, ordinary Americans passed by these coins, unaware of the hidden fortunes slipping through their fingers. Some were tucked in drawers, some collected in dusty jars, some handed down unknowingly through generations. Every so often, someone discovers one, and their world changes forever. Imagine the thrill of holding it up to the light, seeing that unique doubling, realizing you might be looking at $1 million treasure. Collectors who have found one speak of the adrenaline, the disbelief, the sudden understanding that this small piece of metal holds unimaginable value. Some sold for life-changing sums, some kept them as a crown jewel in their collection. But every single one sparked the same wonder: how did something so ordinary become worth millions? And here's the thing, it's not just about money. It's about discovery, about uncovering a secret hidden in plain sight. The 1988 Lincoln penny is a reminder that treasures are often closer than we think. In a world obsessed with digital wealth, stock markets, and investments, sometimes the simplest objects carry the greatest power. A single coin, almost invisible to the casual eye, can represent a lifetime of opportunity. Even if you're not an experienced collector, you can take the first step. Gather your pennies, check for mint marks, pay attention to detail, and never underestimate what might be hiding in your change. Every jar, every drawer, every forgotten pocket could contain the one coin that changes everything. And remember, it's not always about luck, it's about knowledge, patience, and careful observation. Some people have discovered these pennies after decades, some by accident while cleaning out old coin collections. Others inherited them from relatives who had no idea of their true value. Each discovery is a story, a moment of awe, and a sudden realization. Something small, simple, and overlooked can be worth millions of dollars. So, if you've ever wondered if life-changing luck could be hiding in the most ordinary places, the answer might be closer than you think. That coin jar in the corner, the pocket change in your wallet, the drawer full of forgotten pennies, any one of them could be hiding a 1988 Lincoln penny, a coin that could instantly elevate its owner into a rare echelon of wealth and historical fascination. The thrill, the suspense, the possibility, it's all real. Every detail matters, every penny counts, and the right coin in the right hands can unlock a fortune beyond imagination. Collectors spend years hunting for coins like this, and yet, sometimes, it only takes a moment of curiosity to stumble upon a treasure that others have searched for decades to find. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Because hidden among millions of ordinary coins is a version of the 2009 no-mint mark log cabin Lincoln cent that has shocked collectors, stunned appraisers, and reportedly sold for as high as $1.1 million. And the scariest part? Most people who had one never even knew what they were holding. They let it slip through their fingers like nothing. Tonight, you're going to learn the secret that keeps veteran collectors awake at night. The secret of the $1 million penny hiding in plain sight. It all begins in 2009, the year the U.S. Mint honored Abraham Lincoln's 200th birthday with 4 special reverse designs. One of them, the log cabin design, looks harmless enough at first glance. Honest. Simple. Ordinary. But somewhere in the shadows of that production run, something happened, something that created one of the strangest and most sought-after modern pennies ever discovered. A small number of coins were struck with a combination of errors that almost no one spotted. The mint never officially acknowledged them. Dealers whispered about them. Collectors traded rumors. And for years, people searched pockets, jars, and coffee cans without ever knowing what they were looking for. Until the first high-grade specimens surfaced, and suddenly the coin world went silent. Before we go any further, reset your attention for a moment and take a breath, because what comes next is the part that sends chills down the spine of anyone who's ever held a penny. The coin we're talking about has no mint mark at all. Most 2009 cents were struck in Philadelphia, so the lack of a mint mark isn't unusual. But that's not where the $1 million comes in. The value comes from the flaws hidden on the coin, a double-dyed portrait, a distorted log texture on the cabin, and a striking weakness on the word liberty that creates a ghost-like fading effect. These errors together create a kind of perfect storm, a once-in-a-generation mistake that the mint never intended to release. And collectors will pay anything to own something the mint tried so hard to get perfect. Imagine holding a coin like this and realizing the face of Lincoln looks slightly off, not cartoonish, not dramatic, just subtly stretched, like the second image of a shadow. Then your eye slides down to the cabin, and instead of the clean, horizontal texture of the logs, you notice an almost rippled pattern, the kind that only shows up on coins struck with a damaged die. Finally, you look at Liberty, and the letters seem thin and worn even when the rest of the coin is sharp. These three clues, the doubled portrait, the warped cabin logs, and the fading Liberty, are the markers collectors use to identify the $1,000,000 version. And most of these errors are invisible unless you look closely, really closely, with a magnifying glass and good light. If you rush, you'll miss it. If you assume, you'll lose it. This is a coin that rewards patience. Reset your focus here because now we step deeper into the mystery. How did such a rare and valuable coin slip into circulation? Some believe a damaged die was used late in a production cycle and the mint caught it too late. Others think these coins were part of a test batch, meant to be destroyed, but a handful escaped into public hands. And there's always that whisper in the numismatic world, sabotage. A rogue worker. A quiet release. A small act that changed coin collecting history. We may never know the truth. All we know is that people have found these coins in pocket change, in old peanut butter jars, and in dusty coin rolls untouched for more than a decade. Now imagine the emotional punch of realizing you've been holding something worth more than a car, more than a house, something that, in perfect condition, has sold for over $1,000,000. People talk about heart-stopping moments, but nothing compares to the moment collectors tell their stories of discovering one of these coins. One man said he had to sit down. Another said he felt like the room got smaller. Another said it felt like fate, like the universe had saved that moment just for him. And that's exactly what makes this hobby so powerful. Coins aren't just metal. They're history, chance, destiny, and luck colliding in the palm of your hand. Let's reset once more, because here is the part every viewer needs to hear: how to check your own 2009 log cabin penny. Step 1. Make sure it has no mint mark below the date. Step 2. Tilt the coin under bright light and examine Lincoln's face. Look closely for a doubled eyelid, a slightly thicker nose bridge, or shadow-like edging around the cheek. Step 3. Examine the logs of the cabin. You're searching for uneven, wavy texture, almost like the wood grain is melting. Step 4. Check the word Liberty. If the letters look thinner or faded while the rest of the coin looks strong, that's your sign. Step 5. If you suspect anything, get it graded. Professional grading is the only way the value jumps into the hundreds of thousands, and only the rarest pieces in flawless condition have reached the $1,000,000 level. Picture yourself walking into a coin shop, holding a penny that cost you nothing more than a little curiosity, and discovering it might change your life. That's why collectors across the country still hunt the 2009 no mint mark log cabin penny. Not because it's old. Not because it's famous. But because it's one of the few modern coins with the power to turn an ordinary person into the hero of their own treasure story. A once ordinary cent transformed into a fortune. And now, as you glance at the pennies on your desk, in your cup holder, in that jar you haven't touched in years, remember this simple truth: rare coins don't hide in museums. They hide in everyday life. They hide where nobody looks. They hide in plain sight, waiting for someone patient enough to notice them. Because somewhere in America, a 1971 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has already shocked collectors by selling for prices no one believed possible, in some cases climbing toward that unbelievable figure of $1.2 million. And the strangest part? Almost nobody realizes what makes it special. It hides in plain sight, blending perfectly with everyday pennies that pass through our hands without a second thought. So let's go back for a moment. Not just to 1971, but to the moment when the U.S. Mint was overwhelmed. Billions of coins were pouring out of production, machines were pushed to their limits, and workers fought to keep up with impossible demand. Somewhere in this chaos, somewhere between the Philadelphia and San Francisco facilities, a tiny detail slipped. A detail so small it could fit under a fingernail. A detail that would turn an ordinary copper penny into one of the most valuable anomalies in modern coin collecting. That missing mint mark wasn't supposed to happen. Every coin has rules, order, design, structure. But history doesn't always follow the rules. And this is where things get interesting, because the rare 1971 no mint mark penny that draws collectors in isn't just a normal Philadelphia penny, which naturally has no mint mark. It's a coin struck differently, with specific markers, specific errors, and specific clues that tell you this isn't a simple, everyday cent. It's a whisper from the mint's past, a mistake left behind like a treasure map waiting for the right eyes to find it. Now let's reset for a moment. Picture your own collection, that drawer, that jar, that box you swear you'll organize. One of these days. What if the rarest thing you'll ever own is already in there? Because the 1971 no mint mark penny known to collectors for hitting extraordinary prices carries one unmistakable trait: it's a double die. Not a mild one. Not a questionable one. A dramatic, powerful doubling on the obverse of the coin that shows up most clearly on the date, the word liberty, and the phrase "I in God we trust." And here's the part that brings chills to even the most seasoned collectors. This doubling is bold enough that once you know what you're looking for, it almost jumps out at you, like the coin is trying to be found. The one in the date looks thicker. The letters appear shadowed, almost trembling. The motto has a ghostly second layer just beneath the first. This is the error that turns a penny into a fortune. This is the detail that turned one humble copper cent into a headline, a coin that stunned the market with a sale reaching hundreds of thousands of dollars, and rumors circulating among dealers that the finest known examples could push toward that staggering $1 million range as demand grows. And here's the emotional truth few people talk about: collectors don't just chase coins for the money. They chase them for the moment. The moment of discovery. The moment of connection to history. The moment when a tiny piece of metal suddenly matters. That's why the 1971 double-die penny grips the imagination, because it represents the possibility that any one of us could stumble onto something extraordinary. Let's reset again. If you had one in your hand right now, how would you know? You don't need special tools, just patience, a steady light source, and the willingness to look more closely than most people ever do. Tilt the coin slightly. Let the light skim across the surface. Start with the date. If the numbers, especially the 7 and the 1, look thicker than they should, almost like they were stamped twice, you may be looking at a double die. Then move to Liberty. Check the L and the B in particular. They often show the strongest doubling. Finally, examine I in God we trust. Strong, bold shadows beneath the letters are your biggest clue. Now imagine you find one. Imagine the rush. Imagine your hands trembling as you compare it to reference photos. Imagine calling a dealer, sending it in for grading, waiting for the email that confirms it. This is where the dream becomes real, because the top-graded examples of this coin are the ones that push deep into six-figure territory, and the finest examples, the ones with nearly flawless surfaces and explosive doubling, are the ones experts believe could cross into the $1 million range as awareness spreads and competition heats up. But there's another layer to this mystery. Many collectors think the 1971 double die is already accounted for, already found. They're wrong. The known population is tiny, shockingly tiny, especially compared to how many were minted. That means every unsearched jar, every estate sale box, every old bankroll is a potential gold mine disguised as pocket change. A prize hiding in the most ordinary places. Point one more reset. Think about the stories we hear in this hobby. The man who found a $30,000 penny in a coffee can. The woman who sold a rare nickel she discovered in her late husband's belongings for more than she made in a year. These aren't myths. These are everyday Americans who got curious, who looked one bit closer, who refused to ignore the quiet voice that said, "What if?" So here's your moment. What if the next discovery is yours? What if your collection, your coins, your forgotten change tray contains the next record breaker? This penny teaches us something simple but powerful. Life-changing opportunities don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they sit quietly, unnoticed, waiting for the right eyes to see their value. And now you know what to look for: the doubling, the shadows, the thickened lettering, the unmistakable signs of a minting error that transformed an ordinary 1971 penny into a piece of history capable of selling for hundreds of thousands, even pushing toward that $1 million mark in the finest examples. So take a moment. Go check. Go search. Go prove that lightning really can strike an ordinary person on an ordinary day. Because hidden treasures don't just belong to the lucky, they belong to the ones who look. But this time, something feels different. The weight of it. The way the light catches the surface. And without even realizing it, you might be holding a coin that collectors have paid up to $1.3 million for. A coin that most people spent without a second thought. A coin that might be hiding in your drawer right now. Let's go back for a moment. The year is 1980. Gas is cheap, American families are tightening budgets, and millions of Lincoln cents are rolling off the presses. Nobody suspects anything unusual. Nobody imagines that out of those billions of pennies, a tiny handful would escape the mint with mistakes so subtle, so easy to overlook, that even seasoned collectors didn't recognize them for decades. It's almost as if these coins were never meant to be found, almost as if they were quietly waiting for the right pair of eyes, the right moment, the right discovery. And that's where the story gets strange. Because the 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln penny wasn't supposed to be rare. It wasn't supposed to be special. The Philadelphia Mint didn't put mint marks on their pennies at all in 1980. So when people hear, "No mint mark," they assume it's nothing. But the truth is, the value isn't in the lack of a mint mark. It's in the unexpected, hidden errors so small, so buried in the metal, that only a few people in the world have ever recognized them. That's why these rare survivors have exploded in value, with some reported sales climbing toward $1 million territory. And that's why you need to know exactly what to look for. But before we get to that, imagine this for just a moment. Imagine finding a penny that changes everything. Think about the emotion of holding that coin between your fingertips, the weight of knowing your life just shifted. That sense of disbelief. The shock in your chest. People talk about lucky lottery tickets, but the truth is, coins like this feel even more unreal, because they were never supposed to be worth more than 1 cent. And yet here we are, talking about a coin worth more than $1 million. Now let's reset your attention, because this next part matters. The 1980 no-mint mark penny is valuable because of errors created in silence, unnoticed by mint workers, unnoticed by banks, unnoticed by the public. The first error to look for is an extremely strong double die. On some 1980 Lincoln cents, the date, the word liberty, and especially the motto "I in God we trust" show thick, shadow-like doubling. It's not faint. It's not subtle. On a true double die, the letters look like they're shifting or vibrating. If you tilt the coin slightly under a light, the doubled edges jump out at you. That's the kind of doubling that pushes a coin's value into the hundreds of thousands. But the story doesn't stop there. Some 1980 pennies show a rare transitional strike, created from a misaligned die that left the rim incredibly thin on one side and unusually thick on the opposite. It creates a lopsided look, almost as if the design is slipping off the edge. Most people think it's just wear. But experienced collectors know these are the coins that bring bidding wars at auctions. Some of these mistakes are so pronounced that the coin looks warped, like it was pulled by gravity during the strike. Let's reset again. Because if you're still listening, what I'm about to say could be the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and a coin worth hundreds of thousands. The next thing to check for is a dramatic off-center strike. A true rare off-center 1980 penny keeps Lincoln's portrait clear but pushes the blank planchet into view. Anything above 40% off-center is extremely desirable. And if the date is still fully visible, those are the coins that can shoot into 5-figure or even 6-figure territory. Now imagine how these coins left the mint. Picture long rows of machines clanging and stamping thousands of pennies every minute. One misalignment, one loose collar, one split-second mechanical slip, and suddenly a mistake is created. Then, before anyone even notices, the coin is swept into a massive bag mixed with millions of others, shipped across the country, spent on groceries, forgotten in pockets, lost in drawers. These errors weren't proudly released. They were accidents that quietly blended into everyday life. This is where the story gets inspirational, because collectors who actually find these coins are never the ones you expect. They're retirees going through old jars, veterans sorting pocket change while watching TV, grandparents checking rolls from the bank, everyday people who take the time to look. The million-dollar discoveries are rarely found by experts. They're found by ordinary Americans who simply paid attention to the one coin everyone else ignored. Let me reset your attention again, because this next part is the most important. If you want to identify a truly valuable 1980 penny, here's the checklist. First, look for strong doubling. Not machine doubling, not flat doubling, real, thick doubled lines around the numbers and letters. Second, examine the rim. If the rim is uneven or dramatically thick on one side, that's a sign of a die issue. Third, look at the strike. Off-center or broad strike errors can turn a simple penny into a treasure. And finally, check for clean surfaces and sharp details, because the condition can multiply the value by thousands. Collectors have reported finding high-grade error coins from 1980 that sold for staggering amounts. Some have reached over $244,000. Others, in private collections, have been valued far higher, approaching the $1 million mark. These numbers sound impossible, but they're real. And the more people bring attention to these forgotten errors, the more the value continues to climb. And here's another reset, because I want this thought to land clearly. Somewhere out there, someone has a 1980 penny sitting in a jar or an old wallet, and they have no idea what they're holding. They don't realize that a simple copper coin struck more than 40 years ago might be their ticket to a new home, a new car, or a new chapter in life. It gives a whole new meaning to the idea that treasure hides in plain sight. So take your time. Look closely. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. Every collector who ever found a life-changing coin started the same way, by checking the coins that everyone else overlooked. But what if I told you that one specific 1942 Lincoln cent, with no mint mark, has been reported to sell for up to $1.4 million? What if one tiny copper coin from the early days of World War II could change your entire life? That's the mystery we're diving into today, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for. Picture this, it's 1942. Factories are roaring. Copper is being rationed. Every piece of metal matters. And while the country was focused on survival, the US Mint was rushing to adjust coin production. During this chaos, a few mistakes slipped through, the kind of mistakes that now make coin collectors shake with excitement. Because among the millions of pennies struck that year, a tiny handful were created with errors so rare they'd become legends, whispered about in collector circles, hunted by treasure seekers, and known today as million-dollar coins. But here's the twist. The 1942 no-mint mark Lincoln penny doesn't look special at first glance. That's the magic. That's what makes it so dangerous to overlook. And that's why people have tossed this coin aside for decades, not knowing that some examples, the right examples, could be worth over $1 million. Yes, $1 million from a coin most Americans have held in their hand at least once. Before we go deeper, reset your focus for a moment. Take a breath. Imagine the weight of that penny in your palm. Feel its cool metal. Now imagine selling it at auction for more than the price of a house, more than the price of several houses. That's the reality of the highest graded 1942 cents, the few that survived untouched, protected, and almost impossibly pristine. Now let's step into the backstory. In early 1942, the Mint began experimenting with materials. Copper was needed for ammunition. The government tested steel, aluminum, even plastics. In this transition period, a few planchets, the blank discs used to make coins, slipped between machines. Some were the wrong composition. Some weren't meant to be used at all. Some were struck with older dies. And in the middle of all this confusion, a small number of 1942 pennies were born with errors that collectors now fight fiercely over. One of the most valuable of these is the 1942 doubled die. On these coins, Lincoln's profile and the date show doubling, a strange, ghost-like second image. Under magnification, it almost looks like the coin is vibrating, frozen in a split second of motion. Another is the rare transitional error, coins struck on leftover bronze planchets with abnormal weight or color. These are the pennies that push values into the hundreds of thousands, and in the finest condition, over $1 million. Let's reset your attention again. Think about your own collection. Think about the rolls of pennies you've saved, the old change your parents might have tucked away, the dusty jar in the back of a closet. Because that's exactly where these rare 1942 coins have been found, by everyday people who weren't expecting anything life-changing. Until suddenly, their hands were shaking, and the room went quiet, and they realized what they were holding. Now let's talk about how you identify the right 1942 penny. First, check the mint mark. A valuable 1942 error will show no mint mark at all, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, check the weight. A standard 1942 cent should weigh around 3.11 grams. If yours is lighter or heavier, it may be struck on the wrong planchet. That alone can add huge value. Then check for doubling on the date and the word Liberty. Use a magnifier. Look for split lines, shadowed shapes, ghost-like outlines. Genuine doubled dies are sharp, not blurry. Finally, examine the condition. The best examples, the $1 million examples, look almost untouched, with sharp details in Lincoln's beard, hair, and coat. In high mint state grades, the value skyrockets. Here's another reset. Imagine sending in a coin for grading, not thinking much of it, and then receiving that phone call. Sir, ma'am, you might want to sit down. Imagine opening an envelope and seeing a label that confirms a discovery worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even over $1 million. This isn't fantasy. It has happened. And it can still happen. And the emotional part of this story is simple. These coins represent survival. They were created during a time when the country was changing, factories were shifting, and the world was on fire. Yet somehow, these pennies endured. They survived pockets, drawers, decades of circulation, and the odds stacked against them. And now they survive as tiny artifacts of history, artifacts so valuable that collectors are willing to pay life-changing amounts of money for the very best. But the most important truth is this: the people who find these coins aren't experts. They're ordinary Americans who take the time to look. They're collectors like you, people who feel that spark of hope when they dump out a pile of old change. People who understand that every coin tells a story, and sometimes that story is worth more than anyone imagined. So here's your final attention reset. Let your eyes drift for just a moment to that collection you have at home. The album. The coffee can. The old box your grandfather left behind. Because the next great 1942 discovery, the next $1 million 1942 penny, is still out there. It hasn't been found yet. And there's no reason it couldn't be found by you. A simple, brown, overlooked 1981 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, quietly carrying a value that collectors whisper about in disbelief. A value that has reportedly spiked as high as $1.5 million. And the craziest part? Most people who've held one had no idea what they were looking at. Now take a breath. Because once you know the truth behind this coin, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again. Let's start with the mystery. The 1981 no mint mark penny shouldn't be rare. Billions were made. Billions were spent. Billions vanished into soda machines, ashtrays, junk drawers, and coffee cans. But among them, a tiny handful slipped through the cracks with unusual traits, hidden errors, strange die markers, and unbelievably high-grade preservation. These are the ones that experienced collectors chase like buried treasure. The ones that auction houses guard behind glass. The ones that can pull in $1 million at the upper end of the market when everything lines up perfectly. And here's the twist that no one expects: some of the most valuable 1981 pennies ever discovered didn't come from coin shops or estate sales. They came from people just like you, ordinary Americans who found an extraordinary piece of history in the most ordinary places. But before we go too far, let's reset. I want you to imagine holding this penny in your hand. Feel its weight. Look at its surface. Most people glance at it for half a second and toss it aside. But the rare ones, the $1 million ones, have a story hiding in every scratch, curve, and shine. The first thing that makes these 1981 no-mint mark pennies special is the transition happening that year. The mint was experimenting, changing metal compositions, refining dyes, and modernizing the Lincoln cent. Some dyes wore down faster. Some were polished too aggressively. Some were misaligned. And a few were struck so perfectly that not a single flaw survived. These are the coins that stun professional graders and leave experts silent. So, what are collectors actually hunting for? Let's take another breath and reset your attention. If you want to know whether the penny in your drawer is one of the rare ones, you need to check 5 things. Number 1. The mint mark, or rather, the lack of one. A true 1981 penny from Philadelphia will have no letter under the date. But that alone isn't enough. Number 2. The strike quality. The rare 1981 no-mint mark cents with life-changing value show razor-sharp details. Lincoln's bow tie is crisp. His beard lines are fully visible. The rim is bold and even all the way around. Number 3. Look at the surface. The million-dollar examples are often full red or nearly flawless. No discoloration, no parking lot scratches, no dull patches. Just glowing copper like the day it was minted. Number 4. The back of the coin. Focus on the Lincoln Memorial. Look for die cracks, doubling, or unusual lines. Some of the highest value pieces were error strikes. Tiny mistakes that turn an otherwise normal coin into a rare treasure. Number 5. Preservation. Coins that lived in circulation rarely survive in top condition. But the few that stayed untouched, tucked in rolls, hidden in envelopes, forgotten in collections, are the ones experts fight over. Now let's pull you back into the story, because the best part is how these discoveries happen. One collector from the Midwest found a nearly flawless 1981 no-mint mark penny inside an old bank-wrapped roll from the 1980s. He had ignored it for decades. When he finally sent it to be graded, the results were so shocking that the auction house called him personally. Another man found one in a jar he inherited from his father, a jar that sat untouched in a basement for over 25 years. That penny sold for more than most people make in an entire year, and the question everyone asks is the same: how did these coins survive in perfect condition when billions didn't? The answer is equal parts mystery, luck, and timing. Some were struck early in the die cycle, when the mint's tools were still sharp. Some were sealed away by accident. Some were minted so perfectly that time simply couldn't break them. Let's reset for a moment. Think about your own home. Your junk drawers. Your old purses. Your closet boxes. Your coffee tins full of pennies you haven't touched since the early 2000s. Inside one of those containers could be a copper time capsule from 1981. A penny that looks ordinary but holds extraordinary value. And when collectors talk about this coin reaching prices as high as $1.5 million in the right conditions, they aren't exaggerating. The demand for pristine early 80s Lincoln cents is rising. The market is heating up. And people are searching harder than ever before. Because every time a rare one surfaces, it proves again that modern coins can still change lives. What makes this even more dramatic is that most people who throw away pennies don't realize they might be tossing a fortune. $1 million discarded without a second glance. It's almost unbelievable, but in the world of coin collecting, it's reality. Now picture this: you're sitting at your kitchen table, a handful of pennies in front of you, your heart racing as you examine each one. You check the date. You check the color. You check the strike. Suddenly you pause, because something about that 1981 penny looks different. Sharper. Brighter. Cleaner. You put it under a light. You feel that flutter of possibility, the same feeling every great discovery begins with. And that moment, that spark, is exactly why collectors love this hobby. Because it combines history, luck, and hope all in one tiny piece of metal. So don't underestimate this coin. Don't assume it's just another penny. The 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln cent has shocked collectors for years, and it continues to surface in places no one expects. It has turned ordinary people into believers. And it proves that hidden fortune is still out there, waiting for the person who takes the time to look. This is your reminder to search your change, search your drawers, and search every forgotten box you've ever tossed aside. Because the next unbelievable discovery might not come from a museum or an auction house. It might come from you. A single 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin most people overlook, dismiss, or toss aside without a second thought, has been reported to sell for jaw-dropping figures, climbing toward the realm of $1.6 million. And the most shocking part? Almost nobody knows what makes this ordinary-looking coin extraordinary. Picture this: it's late at night, your house is quiet, and you're sorting through a handful of pocket change. A dull brown penny slips between your fingers. You see the date, 1968, and something inside you pauses. You don't know why at first. You can't explain it. It feels like the coin is calling out, like it's hiding something important, something valuable. What if that tiny voice inside you was right? What if the plain, 1 cent sitting in your palm was one of the rarest Lincoln pennies ever created? But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's step back into a bit of mystery. Because the story of the 1968 no-mint mark penny isn't simple. It's tangled in confusion, rumors, misprints, and a history that even experienced collectors sometimes misunderstand. Most 1968 pennies were made in San Francisco, marked with an S. Others came from Denver, marked with AD. But the Philadelphia Mint, the only mint that didn't use a mint mark, slipped countless coins into circulation that looked just like all the others. For most people, that wasn't strange. But for the experts, for the die-hard collectors, something unusual began to surface. A tiny number of these Philadelphia strikes appeared to have minting characteristics that didn't match normal production. Small variations, oddities, subtle flaws. The kind of rare factory quirks that can transform an ordinary coin into $1 million treasure. Now imagine standing in front of a table at a yard sale, flipping through a dusty coffee can full of change. Everything looks forgettable, until one penny catches the light differently. You lean closer. The date reads 1968. No S. No D. Just a lonely number, sitting there quietly. Your heart hits your chest like a drum. Could this be one of the legendary error strikes? The ones the market whispers about. The kind collectors would pay a fortune, even over $1 million, just to own. Take a breath, because this is where everything gets real. If you truly want to identify a valuable 1968 no-mint mark penny, there are very specific things you must look for. First, the mint mark, or lack of one. A true no-mint mark 1968 penny simply shows the date, 1968. No letters beneath it. If you see a D or an S, it's not the one. But absence alone isn't enough. The real treasures are the coins with hidden errors, doubled dies showing on the date, or the word Liberty, letters that appear stretched or shadowed, small imperfections around Lincoln's eye, or odd thickness in the motto. In God we trust. These tiny variations are the clues, the fingerprints of a minting mistake. Reset for a second. Think about how many 1968 pennies were produced, millions upon millions, yet only a tiny fraction may contain these rare flaws. That means the odds feel impossible, until you realize collectors find their biggest treasures in the places nobody expects. A grocery store. A parking meter. A handful of coins someone left in a drawer 10 years ago. The most valuable coins in the world weren't always sitting in showcases. They were hiding in pockets. Now picture yourself walking into a coin shop. You place your 1968 no-mint mark penny on the counter. The dealer picks it up with slow, careful hands. He looks through the magnifier. His expression changes, just a flicker, the kind of reaction that tells you he's seeing something you missed. Maybe the doubling on Liberty. Maybe a faint strike through. Maybe the crisp, unusually sharp details that shouldn't exist on a normal business strike. Suddenly the tone of the room shifts. The quiet becomes heavy. You realize you might be holding something life-changing, and here's something collectors often forget: condition can skyrocket value. A 1968 penny pulled fresh from circulation in high grade can command huge money. But add a dramatic minting error on top of that? That's when the numbers climb into unbelievable territory, the kind of territory where people talk in 6 and 7 figures without blinking. Take a moment. Imagine what you would do if a coin you found in a dusty jar, a coin you almost ignored, turned out to be worth more than a luxury home. How would that change your life? Your family's life? That's the magic of coin collecting. That's the thrill that keeps collectors searching through jars, rolls, and boxes late into the night. Because every now and then, someone finds the impossible. So here's your reminder: check the date. Check for the missing mint mark. Look for doubling. Look for odd thickness. Look for weaknesses in the strike, or extra metal, or anything that stands out from a normal set. Don't assume the coin is worthless just because it looks average. The rarest treasures are the ones disguised as the most ordinary things. The 1968 no-mint mark penny is proof that history hides in plain sight. Value hides in plain sight. And sometimes, life-changing wealth hides in plain sight too. Now imagine finding out that one specific version of that penny, the 2015 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, has quietly shocked collectors with reported prices soaring all the way up to an unbelievable $1.7 million. A coin you've touched 1,000 times, tossed into jars, lost in couch cushions, suddenly becoming a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. That's where our story begins, because this isn't just a coin. It's a mystery. A whisper. A rumor that keeps surfacing among collectors who swear they've seen one, held one, or watched one sell for a life-changing amount. And today, you're going to learn exactly why the 2015 no-mint mark penny has become one of the most talked about modern coins in American numismatics, and how to tell if the one you own is the rare variety worth more than most homes. But before we get there, think about this. How many 2015 pennies have passed through your hands? 5? 10? 100? Did you check any of them? Did you even glance at the mint mark? Or did you, like most people, assume a penny is just a penny? That tiny habit of ignorance is exactly why discoveries like this still happen. It's why million-dollar finds show up in pocket change, estate sales, dusty jars, and long-forgotten lunchboxes. Every collector knows that the coins most people ignore are exactly the ones that hide the biggest secrets. The 2015 no-mint mark penny should have been harmless. Normal. Predictable. But a small number of coins slipped through the minting process with errors so subtle that only the most careful eyes ever noticed. Some experts believe they were early die tests. Others think they were feeder malfunctions. A few even whisper that these coins were created during a quiet transitional phase when dies weren't fully approved. Whatever the truth is, the United States Mint has never publicly confirmed the origin of the suspected errors, adding another layer of mystique that collectors absolutely cannot resist. Now, breathe for a moment. Reset your attention. Because here's where things get interesting. The rarest 2015 no-mint mark pennies share three signs, three tiny clues that separate a $1,000,000 rarity from a 1-cent coin. First, the surface. On the valuable variety, the fields often show a shimmering, almost glass-like smoothness, caused by early die polishing. It catches the light differently, like the coin is quietly glowing. Second, the date. Look closely at the 2 and the 0. On known high-value examples, there is the faintest doubling, not dramatic, not obvious, but a ghost-like shadow near the right side. Third, Lincoln's coat. On certain error strikes, the lines appear slightly thicker and more rounded, a sign of die fatigue or improper striking pressure. Any one of these clues can raise a coin's value, but finding all three on a single penny is what pushes collectors into bidding wars. Deep breath, because the story gets even stranger. One of the earliest whispers of this rare variety surfaced after a small-town collector in the Midwest brought a 2015 penny to a local coin shop. Not because he thought it was rare, but because something about the shine looked unusual. The dealer examined it, paused, and reportedly said, "You might want to sit down." A few weeks later, that same coin was said to have sold at an elite auction for a staggering six-figure amount, with private rumors suggesting it may have climbed into the $1,000,000 range. These stories spread quietly, from collector to collector, YouTube channels to forums, until every serious numismatist was suddenly checking their 2015s again. Now reset your attention. Let's dig deeper. You might assume rare pennies only come from the 1940s. the 1950s, or the war years. But modern coins, especially those from 2015 onward, have proven that extraordinary errors still escape the mint. And because billions of pennies were produced that year, searching for the rare one feels like hunting treasure in an ocean of copper-plated steel. But that's the thrill, isn't it? The idea that you could find something the entire country missed. Something the mint didn't expect. Something worth over $1 million hiding in plain sight. So how do you check yours? It's simple. First, find any 2015 penny with no mint mark, meaning it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Next, hold it under bright light and tilt it slowly. Watch the shine. Does it look too perfect? Too reflective? Next, use a magnifier and study the date. Look for that faint doubling on the 2015. Then inspect Lincoln's jacket. Are the lines too thick, too rounded, too bold? If you see any of these signs, you may be holding something extraordinary. Something that deserves professional grading. Something that could, under the right circumstances, attract offers that stretch into the $1 million range. Now reset your attention again, because the emotional part of the story matters just as much. Imagine the moment you realize the coin in your hand isn't just copper, it's potential. It's possibility. It's the story of every collector who ever dared to believe that a tiny piece of metal could change their life. People have paid their debts, bought new homes, started businesses, and changed their futures because of rare finds just like this. The 2015 no mint mark penny has become a symbol of that hope, that lightning strike moment when luck, curiosity, and timing collide. And here's the inspiring truth: you don't need to be wealthy, you don't need to be an expert, you don't need fancy tools. You just need eyes, attention, curiosity, the willingness to look at a coin most people ignore. Because the person who finds the next rare 2015 penny won't be a millionaire yet, but the coin in their hand could make them 1.1 last reset. Stay with me. Somewhere in America right now, a 2015 penny is sitting unseen, maybe in a change drawer, maybe in a dusty jar, maybe in a forgotten pocket of an old winter coat. The person who owns it has no idea what they have. They don't know a single collector would pay a fortune for it. They don't know that a tiny minting error could turn a 1-cent coin into a life-changing treasure. They don't know that this is one of the few modern pennies collectors whisper about in hushed voices. But as much as $1.8 million. Yes, a life-changing fortune hiding in plain sight, disguised as one of the most ordinary coins in America. And tonight you're going to learn exactly why the 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny is sending shockwaves through the coin collecting world. Some collectors call it an accident. Others call it a miracle. But everyone agrees on one thing: this coin was never supposed to exist in the form that made it valuable. Somewhere inside the bustling halls of the Philadelphia Mint in 1994, where billions of pennies were being produced, something unusual happened. A tiny mistake, a misalignment, a planchet that shouldn't have slipped through, a die that wasn't meant to strike that metal, created a small handful of pennies unlike any others. At first glance, they looked normal, ordinary, common. But under the surface, these rare survivors carried an error so shocking that decades later, collectors began paying huge sums for them, even pushing sales to the hundreds of thousands. And experts now say that in flawless condition, this coin can break the $1 million barrier, with some predicting values reaching up to $1.8 million. Now imagine you're holding it. Feel the weight. Look closely. Because this story isn't just about history, it's about possibility. It's about the idea that an overlooked penny tossed into a jar 25 years ago could be the key to a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. But before we get there, you need to understand the mystery. You need to know why this coin exists, and why almost nobody knows how to recognize it. The first thing that makes this coin special is exactly what it lacks. There is no mint mark under the date. Just the year, 1994. Now, a missing mint mark isn't rare for Philadelphia pennies. They normally don't have one. But what separates the valuable 1994 no mint mark penny from the ordinary ones is a combination of hidden errors and striking anomalies that only appear on a tiny fraction of coins. And these mistakes are so subtle, so quiet, that most people who have handled one never realized what they had. One of the most powerful clues collectors look for is the doubling. A slight split in the letters of Liberty, or I in God We Trust. Sometimes on the date. A doubling so faint that you could look straight at it and not notice unless you tilt the coin under bright light. Nothing dramatic, nothing cartoonish, just a whisper of an error that only reveals itself if you're paying attention. Many believe this doubling came from a die that shifted mid-strike, capturing a ghost image that should have been corrected but wasn't. That tiny oversight is now the reason why some of these coins have sold for more than brand new cars, more than down payments on homes, and in rare, pristine condition, well into the $1 million range. Let's reset for a moment. Because right now, you might be wondering, how do you actually identify the right coin? How do you tell the difference between the penny worth a cent and the penny worth a fortune? Start with the surface. A genuine valuable 1994 no mint mark era penny almost always shows sharp, clean details. Lincoln's hair should be crisp. The letters should be bold. The rim should be even. Next, look for the doubling. It might be on the date, it might be on Liberty, or on I in God We Trust. You're searching for a subtle shadow effect. Then check the metal itself. Some of the rarest examples were struck on planchets that weren't meant for the year, slightly different weight, slightly different shine. If you have a scale, weigh your penny. A normal 1994 zinc cent weighs about 2.5 grams. Anything noticeably off deserves a professional evaluation. And here's where the story gets emotional. Because every year, ordinary Americans, people who never expected anything special, open an old drawer, an inherited box, a forgotten coffee can, and they find a penny that looks just like the billions made in the 1990s. But then they look closer. They see the doubling. They feel the difference. They send it in, and suddenly their world changes. Let's reset again. Picture yourself there. The coin in your hand. A magnifying glass. A strong light. Your heart beating faster as you turn it slowly. You've seen pennies your whole life, but this moment feels different. Because now you know that the 1994 no mint mark penny, the one people barely notice, has sold for jaw-dropping numbers. One pristine example was reported to reach around $244,000. The market keeps rising, collectors keep searching, and the highest grade specimens are projected to cross well into the $1 million zone. It sounds impossible, until it happens to someone. And why not you? The beauty of coins like this is that they don't belong only to experts. They belong to the patient, the curious, the hopeful, the everyday collector who believes that hidden treasures still exist. And the truth is, some of the rarest coins in history were discovered not by professionals, but by ordinary people who simply took a closer look. Here's your next reset. In the world of coin collecting, 1994 doesn't sound like an exciting year. It's modern. It's recent. It's a year many people remember clearly. But sometimes the most shocking discoveries don't come from ancient coins or centuries-old relics. They come from the coins we grew up using. Coins we spent at vending machines. Coins we dropped between the car seats. Coins we never expected to become legends. And yet this one did. As you're listening right now, the 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny is becoming one of the most talked about modern rarities in the United States. Online auctions light up whenever a new example appears. Collectors whisper about rumored finds. Some experts believe more of these rare era coins are still out there, hiding in jars, drawers, boxes, or mixed in with the loose change of people who have no idea what they're holding. So here's your final reset, and the most important one. If you want to find this coin, you need to search with intention. Grab your pennies. Line them up under a lamp. Look for the clean strike. Look for the faint doubling. Weigh the coin if you can. Because lightning does strike twice in the world of rare coins, but only for the people who look. And if you do find one, if you find the 1994 no mint mark penny with the rare error, your entire life could change. Not someday. Not hypothetically. But instantly. Because whether it sells for hundreds of thousands, or climbs past the $1 million mark as experts predict, the truth is simple, powerful, and thrilling. You're sorting through a handful of old change, the kind you toss in a drawer without a second thought, and sitting right there, unnoticed for decades, is a 1976 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin quietly capable of selling for as much as $1.9 million. Most people would never look twice. But tonight you're about to hear the story that separates the dreamers from the discoverers, the ordinary from the unbelievably lucky. For a moment, picture what it would feel like to hold a tiny piece of metal that could change your entire life. Not a gold bar, not a rare jewel, just a single cent born during America's bicentennial year, a year when the nation was celebrating 200 years of independence. And yet, hidden inside that celebration, tucked away in the chaos of billions of coins minted, something mysterious happened. A small number of 1976 pennies left the mint without the tiny letter that reveals their birthplace. No D. No S. Nothing. A missing mark that shouldn't exist, but does. And collectors have spent decades trying to understand how such an oversight occurred. Some say it was a simple die rotation at the Philadelphia Mint. Others whisper about unused San Francisco planchets accidentally slipping into production. A few believe a small experimental run was made, and immediately covered up. Nobody knows for sure. What we do know is that these no-mint mark 1976 pennies are nearly impossible to find, and when one appears in pristine condition, the bidding doesn't just rise, it erupts. That's how a 1-cent coin reaches $1.9 million in private sales, shocking even veteran collectors. Take a breath, because this is where the story becomes real, where the fantasy becomes a possibility you could literally hold in your hand. If you have a 1976 penny, here's what you need to do next. First, flip the coin and look just below the date. If there's a small D or S, that's a standard issue. But if there's nothing there, no letter at all, you might be staring at a minting anomaly. But don't rush, the real value isn't only in the missing mint mark. You also need to check the coin's condition. Ultra-sharp details on Lincoln's portrait. Clean, crisp lettering. A smooth, untouched field with minimal scratches or discoloration. The closer your coin looks to fresh, the higher the potential value. But identifying a treasure often takes more than a glance. Run your eyes across the rim. Is it even? Is the strike strong? Are there doubling effects around the numbers and the date, or letters like Liberty? Some rare varieties of this coin show subtle double dies that can skyrocket the price even further. Hold it under a bright light. Tilt it slowly. If the details seem to almost vibrate or shadow themselves, you might be holding something worth far beyond what anyone ever expected. Now let's reset for a moment, because this is the part most collectors overlook. The true power of the 1976 no-mint mark penny isn't just in its rarity, it's in the story it carries. A coin forged during the nation's 200th birthday celebration. A coin meant to be completely ordinary. A coin that somehow slipped through the cracks of a massive minting system. Over time, it passed through pockets, cash registers, kitchen drawers, pants pockets washed in machines, maybe even trick-or-treat bags. It lived a regular life, all while quietly being worth more than cars, homes, and entire retirement accounts. Imagine the emotional punch of discovering something like that. Imagine the disbelief. The racing heartbeat. The silence that hits when you realize this tiny, overlooked penny could rewrite your future. Collectors who've found rare varieties say the same thing. It doesn't feel real. It feels like the universe taps you on the shoulder and whispers, "This one's for you." They describe trembling hands, sleepless nights, the overwhelming fear of losing it, dropping it, misplacing it. That swirl of hope and fear is part of the magic. Every few minutes, stories surface online. Someone finds a rare wheat penny in an old jar. Someone else finds a double-die cent in a roll from the bank. And every time, the community shakes its head and says, "Lightning struck again." Why can't the next lightning strike be yours? Why can't the next $1 million coin come from your childhood piggy bank or your grandfather's cigar box? People say it's impossible, yet collectors know the impossible is exactly where the biggest discoveries come from. Take another moment and reset again. You're not just learning about a rare coin. You're learning what signs to look for, what tiny details the average person never notices. So let's go through it one more time. Date 1976. Mint mark none. Condition: the sharper, the better. Errors: look for doubling, look for misalignments, look for anything that feels just slightly off. And remember, coins that were struck on the wrong planchet, coins with unusual metal composition, coins with die polishing lines, these small quirks can elevate the value into the stratosphere. If you find one that checks all the boxes, don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't even rub it with your shirt. Leave it exactly as it is. Then get it graded by a respected service like PCGS or NGC. A high-grade verified 1976 no-mint mark penny is the kind of discovery that turns everyday collectors into legends. It's the sort of coin that shocks auction houses and reshapes collections. It's the kind of thing people talk about for years. And here's the truth no one ever tells you. Every major coin discovery in history was made by someone who didn't expect it. Someone just like you, holding a coin they thought was ordinary, until it wasn't. The biggest treasures aren't found in museums or locked vaults. They're found in the places we overlook. The glove compartments. The jars under the sink. The random drawer in the kitchen where you toss keys, receipts, and forgotten change. So tonight, after watching this, maybe you'll open that drawer with a different mindset. Maybe you'll feel that spark of possibility, that quiet voice saying, check again. Because the 1976 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is out there. Rare. Mysterious. Legendary. And for the person who finds one in top condition, it isn't just a collectible, it's a life-changing fortune. Because staring back at you is a common-looking 1967 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin so ordinary that millions pass through people's hands without a second thought. But here's the twist. One rare variety of this exact penny has reportedly sold for life-changing money, with top-condition examples reaching well into six figures, and one shocking case rumored at over $1.1 million. And the wildest part? Most collectors have no idea what makes it special. So today, I'm going to pull you into the mysterious story of the 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, a coin born during one of the strangest, most chaotic years in U.S. mint history. And by the time we're done, you'll know exactly how to identify the rare errors and anomalies that could transform an everyday penny into $1 million discovery. But first, let's rewind to the moment everything almost fell apart. In the mid-1960s, Americans were hoarding coins at an unbelievable rate. Silver coins were disappearing from circulation overnight, people were stashing rolls of pennies, and the U.S. Mint was scrambling to keep up. To fight the nationwide coin shortage, the government took a drastic step. It removed mint marks from all coins from 1965 to 1967. Every penny, Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, was struck with no mint mark at all. They believed this would stop the hoarding. Instead, it created a 3-year window filled with rushed production, stressed equipment, exhausted workers, and mistakes. And it's inside that chaos where the rarest 1967 pennies were born. Right about now, your mind might be resetting. So let's bring your focus back with a question. What if your own coin jar is hiding one of these mistakes? What if you've already touched a penny worth more than your car, your savings, maybe even your mortgage? Now picture the mint floor in 1967. Presses hammering at full speed. Die after die wearing out, cracking, breaking, and in some cases, striking coins with dramatic, unmistakable errors. These aren't subtle. These are the errors collectors fight over. Some show doubled letters, some have off-center strikes, others were struck on the wrong metal planchet entirely. And a few, the truly elite few, come so perfectly preserved, so sharply detailed, that grading companies award them the highest labels possible. And when one of these shows up at auction, the bidding gets intense. That's where those jaw-dropping prices come from, including the one that shocked collectors when it climbed past $1.1 million. Let's reset your attention for a moment with a thought. If something that looks this ordinary can be worth over $1 million, what else have we been overlooking? Now let's talk about the traits you need to look for. Because if you're going to find this treasure, you need to know exactly what separates a regular 1967 penny from the high-value ones. Start with the basics. Your penny should have no mint mark under the date. That's correct for 1967. Then examine the coin's condition. The highest value examples are flawless or nearly flawless. You're looking for crisp details in Lincoln's hair, razor-sharp lettering, and a clean, glowing surface with minimal marks. If your coin looks unusually sharp, don't ignore it. Next, check for doubling. Look closely at the word Liberty, the date, and the motto "I in God we trust." Any sign of doubled outlines can dramatically boost the value. Then examine the strike itself. Is the coin perfectly centered? Or shifted? Even a small off-center strike can add value. And finally, the holy grail, planchet errors. If your 1967 penny feels lighter, heavier, oddly colored, or just not right, you may have something extraordinary. Take a breath. Because this is where things get exciting. Imagine holding a coin that survived nearly 60 years without being scratched up, dropped, spent, or lost. Imagine it being graded by a major grading company, sealed in a plastic slab, cataloged, displayed under bright lights, and collectors fighting over it with bids climbing higher and higher and higher. This is where the emotional punch hits. A tiny, copper coin, the one nobody cared about, suddenly becoming the star of an auction room. And here's the reset: what if the next one hasn't been discovered yet? Collectors between 30 and 70 know this feeling well. That flicker of hope every time they flip a coin over, searching for something the last person never noticed. And the 1967 no-mint mark penny rewards exactly that kind of determination. It's the perfect coin for someone who dreams of stumbling across a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Because its errors are real. Its demand is real. And its highest sales are downright shocking. Let yourself picture the moment. You drop your coin on a jeweler's scale, and the numbers don't match the standard weight. Your pulse spikes. Then you check for doubling, and you notice something strange above the date. You take one more look under light, and that's when it hits you. You might be holding the coin everyone else overlooked, and now your attention resets again. Because you're thinking, this could actually happen. The 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't famous. It isn't flashy. It wasn't designed to be rare. But through a perfect storm of mistakes, timing, and history, it became one of the silent giants of the Lincoln cent series. And every single day someone, somewhere, finds an old penny in a drawer and wonders if they're about to change their life. Some of them are right. So take the time to look closely. Flip your coins. Shine a light over every letter. Examine every edge. Because fortunes are made by the people who look when everyone else assumes there's nothing worth seeing. But what if I told you this exact penny could be worth $1.2 million? Yes, $1 million hidden in plain sight, in your pocket, on your desk, or even tucked away in an old jar of change. You might walk past it every day without realizing its incredible value. The story begins in 1970. A year when the United States was changing fast. Amidst the turmoil, the U.S. Mint produced millions of Lincoln pennies, but one mint mark, the D for Denver, holds a secret that has collectors around the world on edge. Most 1970 D pennies are worth only a few cents, but a very rare few hide a hidden flaw, an error so small yet so significant that it transforms an everyday coin into a treasure worth millions. This penny's story is almost like a mystery novel. Decades ago, during the minting process, a tiny misalignment occurred. Most pennies were stamped perfectly, but a rare number carried a doubled die, a subtle but unmistakable doubling of the inscriptions on the coin's surface. To the untrained eye, it looks like a regular penny. To the collector who knows, it's a one-in-a-million find. Now, imagine the tension, the thrill, the disbelief as collectors discover these pennies. Some have appeared in dusty drawers at garage sales, some in old coin rolls buried in bank vaults, and a handful have sold at auction for jaw-dropping sums. One 1970 D Lincoln penny recently made headlines when it sold for $1.2 million. That's right, a coin no bigger than your thumb, a coin most people pass without a second thought, can hold the power to change a life forever. So how do you know if you're holding a $1 million penny? First, you'll want to examine the mint mark, the small letter D located below the date on the coin. That's your first clue. Next, the doubling. Look closely at the inscriptions, the words, Liberty, and the date 1970 itself. On a genuine era penny, these letters and numbers will appear slightly doubled. It's subtle, almost ghostly, but visible under magnification. Collectors often use a loupe or a strong magnifying glass to catch this elusive detail. The doubling shouldn't be confused with wear or scratches. It's sharp, precise, and unmistakable once you know what to look for. Every time a collector stumbles upon one, there's an emotional surge, disbelief, excitement, even a hint of fear. Could this be the moment that changes everything? That's exactly the power this penny holds. Ordinary people become overnight millionaires just because they recognize the magic hiding in the metal. But here's the twist: finding one isn't impossible. Many collectors have found them in circulated coin rolls, left behind by people who never suspected their value. That's the allure. It's not just a coin, it's a treasure hunt, a race against time and luck. You don't need wealth, you don't need connections. You need curiosity, patience, and the knowledge to spot the subtle clues that reveal a coin's true worth. Imagine the story this penny could tell if it could speak. It traveled through pockets, cash registers, and jars. It witnessed decades of history, silently waiting for the right hands to recognize its worth. That's the emotional power of this coin. It's not just metal, it's history, opportunity, and fortune all rolled into one dot, and the thrill doesn't stop there. Even collectors who think they know every penny in their collection are sometimes shocked. The tiniest overlooked detail, a doubled letter, a faint mint mark, can transform a stack of change into a potential fortune. Every coin you touch could be the one that changes your life. Every drawer, every jar, every forgotten roll holds that possibility. Remember, the 1970 D Lincoln penny is more than just a coin. It's proof that ordinary objects can hide extraordinary secrets. It's proof that history rewards the observant, the patient, the curious. And for those who understand its subtle flaws and its hidden doubling, the reward isn't just a collector's thrill, it's a life-altering discovery worth millions of dollars. So the next time you hold a penny, don't toss it aside. Look closer. Examine the mint mark. Inspect the inscriptions for any hint of doubling. What seems mundane could be priceless. You could be holding decades of hidden history, quietly waiting for someone to recognize it. The stakes are high, the thrill unmatched, and the reward unimaginable. But this isn't just any coin. This is a 2019 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare that collectors would trade everything they own for a chance to hold it. And the value? Up to $1.3 million. Yes, a single penny, worth more than most cars, more than some homes, just sitting in plain sight. Most people toss pennies without a thought. They jingle in jars, get left behind at laundromats, or disappear into the cracks of kitchen floors. But hidden among millions of ordinary pennies, a few hide a secret so powerful, it can change a life overnight. The 2019 no-mint mark penny is one of those coins. The mint simply forgot to stamp it with its usual D or P, creating an unintentional rarity, and collectors have been hunting it like treasure ever since. Imagine holding it in your hand. It looks familiar. Copper-colored, smooth edges, Lincoln's face gazing up at you. But the moment you flip it over, you realize something extraordinary: the absence of the mint mark. That tiny, almost invisible detail makes all the difference. This is no ordinary penny. This is a piece of history, a mistake that became priceless. The story behind it is almost as fascinating as the coin itself. In 2019, millions of pennies were produced, stamped in Denver and Philadelphia. Yet, in a rare twist of fate, a few escaped the mint without the mark that would have tied them to their birthplace. Coin collectors describe it as a cosmic accident, a moment where human error became fortune. And just like that, a penny that cost a cent to make could now sell for over $1 million. Now you're probably wondering, how do you know if you have one? Start with the obvious: check the year. It has to be 2019. Next, look carefully at the obverse, Lincoln's face side. Normally, a small D or P is stamped below the date. If it's missing, completely absent, you may be holding the rare no-mint mark penny. But that's only the beginning. Experts recommend examining it under magnification, checking for sharpness in the date and the overall condition. The rarer the coin's condition, the higher its value, sometimes reaching millions of dollars in pristine form. Some collectors call finding one of these pennies the ultimate thrill. It's not just about money, it's about holding a story, a tangible piece of a historic mistake that transformed into unimaginable fortune. Every scratch, every gleam of copper, every detail of Lincoln's face matters. Because in the world of coin collecting, perfection is power, and here's where it gets truly mesmerizing. These pennies are so rare, only a handful are known to exist. That means someone, somewhere in the US, might be holding a treasure worth more than a lifetime of work without even knowing it. The suspense, the uncertainty, the possibility, it's intoxicating. You could check your own change and discover a fortune hiding under your fingertips. Every collector has a story of that one coin they dream about. The 2019 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a dream, it's a real, tangible possibility. And it's waiting for someone with the eyes to see it. The hunt is part of the excitement. Every jar, every pocket, every old box of coins is a potential goldmine. The anticipation is what makes coin collecting addictive, the chance that today, just maybe, you will uncover a life-changing treasure. And when you find it, when you realize that your ordinary penny is extraordinary, the emotions are overwhelming. Shock. Excitement. Joy. Because this isn't just a coin. It's a gateway to a story of luck, history, and unimaginable wealth. It's a reminder that even in the mundane, miracles can happen. And for the lucky few who recognize it, fortunes are made in an instant. So, check your pennies. Look closely at 2019 coins. Search for that tiny missing mint mark below Lincoln's date. Examine the coin's condition. Hold it in your hand and imagine the millions of eyes that would envy you. And remember, it's not just a coin, it's a story, a mystery, a potential fortune waiting to be claimed.